What's going on, everyone? What's happening? All right. Been a while. It's good to be on. No, nobody's sponsoring me. Just kidding. All right, let me sit here. Oh, yeah, everybody's up in here today. Yeah, it's been a good couple weeks, guys. Still not 100% of the voice there. It's got that little itch. It's just that persistent itch, but be all right. If the voice box falls out, oh well. I don't mind, actually, it's like if I talk for a while anyway, it'll start getting scratchy, it gets dried out. Find yourself like swallowing constantly, trying to get the old voice back to normal. We won't go overboard, we'll just, be all right. Let me just test this. Back to normal. We won't go overboard. Oh, there we go. All right, audio sounds fine. What's going on there, Renee? Photo Light and Magic is in there. Natural Spirit, hi from Germany. What's going on there over there in Germany? Good to have you in there. Brian Norton, what's going on? Josh D's in there. Hey, Chris. What's going on, Josh? Good to see you in there. Jason McVeigh, what's happening? Man, it's good to see everybody back again. Been a good couple weeks. Sucks, man. Not just getting in it because I enjoyed just hanging out with you guys, talking about different subjects, whatever it may be. Richard Mortimer, what's going on? Morning all, he says. That's right, too. You are in the morning already, right? Renee Van Oosterhood, what's going on? Hatchet Man, what's up, everyone? It's been a while since I've made it in, but I'm here tonight. Awesome, Hatchet Man. Good to see you in there, man. Renee Cruz, I love extraterrestrial aliens, crop circles, MIBs, cattle phenomenon, anomalies, and UFOs. I think we all do. It's actually pretty wild. Pete Ferrero, what's happening? Good to see you in there, man. Natural Spirit, we go live at 9/8. Yeah, I was a couple minutes late, but I'm getting there. I'm just like ready to sit down and go, oh, I didn't put the other computer on. And I like to have that on. So this way here we can, believe it or not, I actually see the comments there first before I see it on here. So I like to see it here. So if I'm still trying to catch up, I can see anybody pop in there. That one's real time. This one here, I'm actually behind trying to say hello to everybody. And if there's any questions or whatever, I can do that, right? Timothy Pendleton, what's going on, man? There you go. So my battery's full and I'm finally made it before it starts. These are Friday goals, people. And good one. I hear that. Oh, let's see. This thing just jumped on me. I hate it when it does this, but it is what it is. Jason McVeigh. Jason Motorhead McVeigh is in the house. Yes, you are. Ricardo Torado, what's happening? Said, how you been doing, Chris? I've been doing all right. I mean, I'm working, doing my thing, but had the cold. I had a bad cold and still right there's got that tickle. So if I'm coughing, you guys will understand. Like I said, I mean, it happens to anybody. You can talk for like hours on end. I mean, I had to deal with the public all day long. So it doesn't help the throat. And you keep thinking, is it a sore throat or is it something because you're just kind of stressing it out because of the talking and stuff? Hard to tell, right? It is what it is. And I know a lot of you guys, and I appreciate you guys saying, man, I hope you just get better. I hope you get better and everything else. So I appreciate everybody's concern. And I was like hitting this thing with like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in the morning and in the afternoon. And then I took antibiotics and stuff like that. I said, well, whoop its ass one way or the other, right? So, yeah, we're fine other than a little tickle still. So I'll still have that. But we're going to try to just not go too loud with the voice. We'll try not to strain it too much. Let's see. Daniel Hagerman. Hagman. Does anyone know how I can get in touch with Chris? I really need to talk to him. I'm here. Renee, you said no sunlight. I feel you. Trust me. I think we're going to start getting into spring here because what's funny about it is it's like yesterday. Well, yesterday was like 60 degrees out here. 2 days before that, it was like 67, 65. So, and then all of a sudden, now we're like 38 degrees and rain, sleet, and snow tonight. Oh, yeah. Mother Nature's lost her mind. What? Brian Norton says, what's up, Prez Chris? What's going on? Gemini Realm, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Jason, it is. Everything's good here. Other than still get that little bit of a tickle, but, we'll deal. It's not a big deal. William Johnson, he said, hi, Chris. Just started? Wow. Yeah, I just, I was probably 2 or 3 minutes late for you guys. So, but I tried to get on here. Like I said, I usually on pretty much at 5. And like I said, I didn't put on the other computer here. And we're like, oops. So I just hyper-fired that up. And like I said, so I can see it more real time as opposed to this right here because I'm behind, but right there, that one's real time. So, um, yeah. Slick 902 says, "Hey, Chris, from Nova Scotia, Canada. Love your work, man. I appreciate that. And hello over there in Nova Scotia, Canada. Trying to think, Nova Scotia, Canada. This is back a while back. Oh, that's what it was when I was talking on CB a lot of times, and it wasn't just regular. I wasn't into the regular, just local. Although we had good friends that would we'd talk to in the city and stuff like that. But talked to a lot of fine folks over in Nova Scotia, and I think my very first contact was over in Fairbanks, Alaska, and that's what got me hooked. And I was talking all over the world after that. So, yeah. So, good evening to you there. Yeah, Renee. Yeah, absolutely. I've had the like you said, prescription cough medicine and antibiotics. Well, that's what I was doing. I was hitting those with the antibiotics, and like I said, I was taking the cold medicine. This is pretty good. I mean, if I cough, it's just like a simple cough. It's nothing like, my wife had it pretty bad. She still was coughing every now and then. She had bronchitis, ended up with bronchitis. So they gave her medication for that and all that stuff. And so, but it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people have gotten a lot worse, man. They've gotten, this flu going around, all this other crap, and so it's never easy. Oop, put this mouse over here for this one. All right. Adam B says hi. What's going on? Promethazine cough syrup will clear that right up. Yeah, I've actually got some cough syrup, so if and like I said, I'm not even coughing like a lot. Like a lot of people like constant chronic cough. I don't have that at all. If I do get it, it's because of the itch of the throat, and I'll just cough. But it's not because of like a chest cold or any of that sort. So yeah, this thing jumped on me again. Here we go. Matt McCarthy, what's going on? Good to have you in there, man. Just chilling here and getting over that little silly cold. And like I said, it was more of a persistent anything than anything, right? Because it was anybody can get over a cold. I mean, I worked through it. I didn't stay home at all. I just, went to work. I've had a lot worse. Like sometimes you have these colds and it's like you're close to death, but you're still going to work. It's like, I've had it before. It's not a big. And I normally don't get colds. My immune system's pretty strong, but when I do get that one cold for the season, it's usually it'll throw a beating on you. Let's put it that way. Uh, Brian says, I have missed the chat, my friend. And I'm the same way, guys. I'm just like, man, it's like, I got to get back to these guys. I don't mind doing it. It's like every Friday evening, I enjoy doing it. So now when you don't do it, you're kind of like, one of you guys just said that, man, I'm going through withdrawal. I guess if you want to put it that way, right? Dan, you can get a hold of me on Facebook if you want to. Mars Anomalies Facebook page if you want to. It goes whatever message you give me. It's just it's directly to me. It doesn't go on page or anything like that. If you want to do that, if you got any info you want to talk or whatever, you can hit me up in there. Jason McVeigh says we missed you, Chris. Well, I missed you guys too, man. I'm glad to hear that. Sombre Reptile says howdy. Good moon video this week, Chris. I appreciate it. I mean, if none of you guys have seen the new moon video, yeah, check it out. It's on my Lunar Anomalies and Beyond. I was going to get a Mars one out, but it didn't end up getting out. I'm so busy this week. And it kind of pisses me off because I like to get these things out if I can because I got them like literally in Photoshop and it's just there and I can see it there when I fire up the computer. I'm trying to get it out and of course I'm busy, so it's hard to be able to do that, right? Rolando Els, what's going on, Rolando? Barris Rayner says, first time here, watched nearly all of your Mars videos. I've seen enough to realize it ain't all rocks. Great channel. Cheers. Well, I appreciate that, Parrish. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we could look at these things. We could still say, well, it's a 50-50 thing. It could be a rock, could be, some kind of anomaly, whatever it is. That's all we do here. We just search for the anomalies. I'll say, listen, here's an anomaly, meaning it stands out from its surroundings, right? And then I'll say what I believe it may be. Of course, there's no way to vet this stuff. It's pure speculation. And then I'll just ask you guys, what do you think it is? And then that's it. We don't try to jam anything down people's throats here. We just say, here it is. What do you think it may be? And that's it. Because the way I look at it, and I've said this before, it's like, listen, it's anybody's guess here is as good as mine, and vice versa. Because there's no way to vet in this. We can't just pick it up and go, oh, well, that clearly that's a drink or that's some kind of cup. We can't do that. We can do is see it, and that's pretty much it, right? So yeah. What's going on there, Terry G? He said, when will man go to Mars? I don't know. I think it's supposed to be what, 2034? Somewhere in there. Maybe sooner. I think it's they're trying their damnedest to get there a lot sooner. I think they'll break that in no time. I think they'll get there sooner than that. Jason McVeigh says, go ahead and hit that like button. Bam. Hammer time. Man, that's been a while since we said that, huh? Hit that like button, guys. Slam that bad boy. The Sky Hunter, what's going on? He said, hi, bud. Take care of yourself. Love from the Sky Hunter. Well, I appreciate it there. And big hello from here to Scotland there, right? Craig McCauley. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Chris, what's up? Last Moon video was great. Keep up the great work. I do appreciate it in both ways. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, and the reason why I started going on the moon, and some of these people that do moon videos kind of lost their mind over it because they were like, oh, what the hell is he doing moon videos for? It says Mars anomalies. So that's why I changed it, because I wanted to actually broaden it anyway. And because of requests from you guys saying, man, can you do some moons? Can you do this? Can you do that? And the thing is, I've been looking at these moon photos for quite a while, right? So what I found was that it's like, okay, so if I find something on the moon that they're hiding, so clearly if they're hiding it right from the word go with the moon missions, again, the question stands, why wouldn't they lie about everything else? Makes perfect sense, right? So then if they're not going to tell the truth about the moon, they're sure in hell not going to tell the truth about Mars, you know, as far as anything that's like actual plants, at least at this moment. Although I think we know better than that. In fact, I got some more interesting stuff I'm going to show you guys and let you guys see, because I'll give you the links to all of this stuff. You know that, and it just screams yes. They're not coming out and saying yes. There's organics. There's not. They're not coming out and saying that, but that doesn't mean we can't equate what we're reading. Meaning the information is being supplied to us, and then we can. And although we can't vet any of it, we can still say, man, all the puzzle pieces are there. So clearly, I think there is actually life on that planet. But again, we can't vet it, so we can't really say per se. But uh, Brian Norton says, ordered my premium Blue Mars sweatshirt. They just shipped it out. Can't wait to show it off. Well, I appreciate that, Brian. And anybody else, if you haven't seen the merch store yet, and if you want to buy something, now I got this one here on. You can see it right there. Mars Anomalies and Beyond. These are sweet, man. I'll tell you what, these are warm. And on this day like this, I was like, man, I'm not going outside without this. It's not like super thick, but it's so warm. It's the fabric that it's made of. It literally keeps you warm. This is awesome, this thing. I was like, man, I've got to get one of these. These are cool. And plus I got the V-neck, which I love V-neck. So I appreciate anybody who's done that. Big thanks to all you guys. Just another way to support the channel. And the cool thing about it is when you support the channel, now you're getting something for it too. So, any way you guys support the channel is great. And I do appreciate all of you. You guys know that. Photography Light and Magic, you said, did you see the image I sent you? Did you send that through Facebook or was it through email? Because I'm going to be truthful. I really haven't done a whole lot of looking at that stuff over the week. So, but if you did send it, just tell me which one you sent it to, Photography Light and Magic, and I'll check it out. Daniel Hagman, you said, Chris, I would like to know if you would be willing to be a guest speaker at our conference. All right, I think I remember you asking me this before. It depends on what it is, or when it is, rather. I got a lot going on, man, between work, my son being in like all kinds of stuff in school. And truthfully, I don't know if I can, but you never know. If you just shoot me the specifics, and we'll go from there, because I just don't, I can't tell you yes or no. I don't want to lie to you and say, yeah, I can do that, and then not do it. You know what I mean? Iggy Morch, what's going on? Says hi. Well, hello. Mick Gus says, hi, Chris. Keep up the great work. Oh, thank you, and I sure will. Oh yeah, just drop your comments. Timothy was just telling you, Daniel. Yeah, drop it like it's hot. Ernest Hines Jr. says, hello, Chris. Ernie from Baltimore, Maryland. Just chatting to say hello and appreciate your hard work and research. Much appreciated. You're doing wonderful. I appreciate that, Ernest. Um, well, hello to over there, Baltimore, Maryland. Michael Ferdinand says, hey, Chris, been a while. Glad I'm able to chat and watch live. Oh, I'm glad you're here because I know a lot of times it gets like a hit and miss with some of you guys. And, you know, I know some of you, it actually screwed you up since we went to the Fridays. But like I said, I think it's like 2 or 3 more weekends, and we'll be back to Saturday if you guys want to do that. You know what I mean? Because I want to make it easier for everybody, so everybody can be on here if they can. And I know it's some of you guys are like, "Oh man, that so sucks, man. I can't do that." And I hate to hear that because I like to see everybody jump on board because I like good conversation and everything. So yeah. Oh, photography light mag. You said all right. So you said it was a ChemCam one. And now did you send it to the Facebook one again, or did you send it to the Mars Anomalies email? Because like I said, I will check it out. Yeah, this damn thing jumped again. God, I hate when this does this. I try to pick up where I've seen it. Timothy Pendleton says, "Have you been able any? I'm sorry. Have there been any new rover pics released yet? I've not been able to get on lately. There is a couple. In fact, I just picked up one. It's one of the latest ones out there, and has a couple little things. Not a whole lot of major because sometimes it's only a couple things, right? Because they hide just about all of it. So." But you can find some of it. So I'm going to be doing that one real soon. I wanted to get that one out in the beginning of the week, and of course, like I said, I got busy and fell behind here. So yeah, but yeah, there are the newest ones are out, and like I said, I think it's 2673. I think I don't excuse me. Yeah, I think it's somewhere around 2673. Is that's all right now? Michael Ferdinand says they shut down 3 schools in mass, and our governor went live Wednesday and said, if you're sick, stay home. Yeah, I mean, isn't that like a common sense thing anyway? If you're super sick, you should stay home. Now, I understand some people go, listen, I can't, I got to make the living. And listen, I'm all with you guys, but don't let the government scare the living shit out of you. This coronavirus, it's just like any other, flu. I mean, if you think about it, every year it's either swine flu, it's this flu, it's that flu, the bird flu. It's just, you know, and now don't get me wrong, I'm not going to play it down like it's nothing serious because they'll say, you hear people say, well, this person died in this state and whatever else. That's never a good thing. But isn't that like happens every single year anyway? So it's just another name for a different flu. I mean, it's pretty much the same, right? Basically you got to do what you can to, take care of it and, try to keep it to yourself because you don't want to spread it around. But a lot of people like totally freaked out about it. Now in my state, there at one point, I think they said there's supposed to be 2. Now this state's pretty darn large. But we just heard from the local school systems and anything to do with the, disease center. They said there's not even any here. So yeah. All right. Let me see. Natural Spirit, you said, Chris, please open up your YouTube community so we can explain better most of the topics we talk about. Yeah, we're going to be doing that. And like I said, I'm going to be doing more of a, we're going to do this a lot better here where we can actually show you the stuff when I read it to like certain things. Like I'm going to talk to you now coming up about some of the topics. And we're gonna actually check that a little bit more where I can actually show you the pages. So we're gonna get on that too. I've been working around with that when I get the time. That is right. So I've been trying to do that here and there because it should have been up a long time ago, right? Craig McCauley, appreciate that. Do you think Mars has oxygen and they are not telling us the truth? They do. Now, in fact, that's one of the things I want to explain or talk about because think about it. We get spikes in methane, spikes in oxygen. So you got to ask yourself, where's this coming from? So that's coming up real quick. Tim Volganol, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name. He said, got my sweet shirt merch. Love it. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the support, man. Yeah, I think I knew what you meant there, Michael. Sorry, not shit, but shut. Yeah, I know what you meant. Eagle One, what's going on, man? Good to see you in there. He said, glad you're feeling better. I am. I still got a little bit of a tickle, but I'll get that every time I talk. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I said, I talk with, people all day long. And somebody who just asked me too, what do you do for a living? And basically, I order everything for a giant, grocery store chain. And basically, you know, shipping and receiving and stuff like that. A lot of manual labor, stuff like that I do. Um, most people think he must work for NASA because clearly he's got all this information. It's like, no, no, no. I'm just like anybody else, man. I'm just one of you guys. Anybody else that does research, they know, right? So, I'm no different from you guys, and that's what I love. I fit in with all you guys, and we have a lot to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, you just down to earth, man. Now, prior to moving down to West Virginia, I lived in Rhode Island, born and raised. And before I came down here, I was a tool setter setting up machines. I had my own areas, like 8 machines. And then I had another machine in the back. A lot of, doing a lot of work on that. So did that for 13 years. So it's probably why I see a lot of mechanical shit in these photos. What do you guys think? It's like, because I know a lot of people talk about, I know people that work with the public all the time. That's what they see. They see faces and like in these rocks and stuff. And I tell people, be careful about that because when you zoom in really big time, they say that your mind's wired to see faces, and that's true. But I don't see them, and if I do, it's very obscure. I really don't see a whole lot of it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I see more, structural and mechanical. And wait till you see this other one. Like I said, I'm actually doing right now of Mars. Not a whole lot in it, but what's in there is cool. It's just amazing. It's pretty interesting. It's either two things. Either it's the way they're manipulating these things, and I said like on the latest moon one, how they literally section off an area and block something, and you can see the outline of that said manipulation, or it's actually something sitting there, and they try to manipulate it and obfuscate it. William Johnson says, "I don't get sick often, knock on wood." Yeah, I don't either. I mean, but just every now and then you just get it, right? Ken Wells says, "Nice hat." I appreciate that. Ooh, hey now, glowing in the dark. Hold on, watch this. Whoa, not as quite as bright now. And yes, I do have hair. But anyway, check this out. SpaceX. That's why a lot of times I wear the hat too, because I got this overhead LED work light right over my head. So just remote control it. But anyway, so I love it when people call me bald. It's like I get it cut so short that it looks like I'm actually bald, but I actually got a full head of hair, but I think it's comical. They just don't know. Shh, don't tell anybody. Oh, that's what it was. Stephen Porter asked me that. He said, what do I do for a living? He said, I'm a train engineer here in Wales. Awesome. I'm going to jump way down here because I know I'm so far behind I can't see my rear end right now. What's going on, Noodles? Good to see you in there. Amin Gagna says, welcome back, Chris, and hope you feel better. I do at this moment. I'm feeling pretty darn good, man. And I figured to just give the time off. You know what I mean? It's like yourself. Sometimes you want to do what you love, but you go, listen, I just got to, at some point, I got to back off of it, and just chill. It's just better to do that. If I missed any of you guys, your comments, and I jumped over you because I'm trying to get to the bottom. So this way here, you guys don't feel left out. Sometimes you guys feel left out. I was like, when's he ever going to get to the bottom? And I hate to do that to you, but I also don't want to miss anybody's questions or anything either, right? Mr. Gossimo, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Craig, good one. Don't let him lie. He is the first president of Mars. makes Mars blue again. Well, it's already blue, so yeah, interesting. Phil Cox and daughters with I'm sorry, with daughters Jessica and Kelsey Brown. What's going on, man? Good to see you in there. Exactly, Timothy. You know what I'm talking about, right? You said I'm in construction, so it stands out to me more than anything, especially structured concrete. Yeah, I mean, in some of these rocks, the way they look flat and everything, and they're just sticking out of the ground, they actually look like concrete, right? Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's not. It's probably like a layered rock, and it just happens to be standing out, and I get that. But then there's sometimes, I mean, it looks like some of it looks like it's got rebar sticking out of it and everything else. So it's kind of crazy, right? Mr. Gosman says, "Yeah, missed you last week, Chris. Hope you're feeling better." Yeah, I didn't have it on for the last 2 weeks. We weren't live for the last 2 weeks, so you didn't miss it. But yeah, I said, "Well, throat's still a little weird, but we're doing good, and it'll just get worse because I'm going to be talking, but that's fine. It'll recover as long as it's because of talking and not something else, right?" So yeah, we basically took it on both with antibiotics and vitamin C and gave it an ass whooping. So yeah, Carlo Mauricio, what's going on? Hello from Tijuana. Have you ever, I don't know, could you do a highlights video? All the findings you consider the best, the clearer, the more blatant, could work with promoting the rest of the videos. Oh, absolutely. I had done one too. I did like a montage. It's on my channel when you go on it, and it shows like the moon, Mars. I think I put up there like 3 years ago or something like that. And that was just back then, all the stuff that I did. And I put like some things you could see like in a photo and this sol and like a sol or 2, 3 days later, it's not there. It's been changed. It's either the way they're manipulating the stuff and it just looks different in the manipulation, and the angle is not much different, but yet you can see some stuff going. I've got like the radar image of the moon that was on there, like Posidonius crater, so on and so forth. I mean, you can see like the way it looks to you and I, but when they took a satellite or a radar image rather of that area, it looks like a city underneath the ground, and it penetrated about 30 to 50 feet under the ground. So that was pretty interesting. But it's got all kinds of stuff like that in that montage of my on this channel here, the Mars anomalies and beyond. Erica Joy, good to see you in there. You said your question was, do you think what we're finding is remnants of one civilization or multiple? Um, Being that they're in that one area, I don't know if you mean like kind of like today's Egypt, where you have the ancient, structures, and then of course you have today's. That's a possibility because some people see statues and kind of like a bust of a statue and all kinds of stuff, and then we're seeing what looks like mechanical stuff. So that's a great question. I can't really answer that, at least not definitely, but it's a good possibility, very good possibility. I see Iggy Morris. You're talking about John Ward. Yeah, John Ward does a great job in his videos. He does basically all satellite, looking down at certain areas, and he sees what looks like these megalithic structures, or the way these stones are set up, where there's like a square stone on top of a round one, and all that. And what's the chances of nature doing that, right? He does really good work. If you guys get a chance, go see John Ward. Go see him. Check his channel out. Good stuff. Yeah, Timothy, that'd be pretty interesting. SpaceX is probably watching this live. Um, yeah, I mean, and I know, a lot of people say, what do you think about maybe um, Elon will probably, once he gets there, he'll tell the truth. Well, being that he works with NASA now, and they're all like buddies now, and of course, he's being subcontracted through them, and all this other stuff, and he's sending supplies to the ISS, and you probably won't hear him say anything, or just let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So, you know. I just want somebody disgruntled to say, listen, I've had enough. Let's send it to one of these channels and just see what they do. And that would be awesome. English Viking 82%. Did anyone else notice on the video of Mars creature in a strange carving that one of the carvings looked just like that creature? Now, I don't think I've seen that. I don't know if anybody else has. FU and CK Society. Hi, how long are you planning on staying online for tonight? That's a great question. I don't know. Because now that everybody's here and we haven't been on for a couple weeks, I'm going to start talking about some of the topics here. This is pretty interesting. Um, that it's got to do with Mars, and interesting enough, again, more puzzle pieces we can throw together. Um, and these are from science papers too, right? So yeah. Um, Timothy, you said if anyone has ever demoed a concrete structure, but the rebar looks exactly like some of the rebar bent to hell on Mars. Yeah, I mean we've seen some of that, right, Timothy? We've seen what looks like this rebar. Like I had a bunch of it where it was coming off like this here, and then had rounded or like these um, like a 180 bend, a smooth bend, and there was more than a couple of those in that one piece. And believe it or not, I actually still had people go, "That's a rock." Like, what? Oh my god, that's too funny. Alien, what's going on, Alien Tenno? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd call him fake. Elon Musk. You said Elon Musk is a fake. He's not really a fake. He's actually the real deal. However, if we all think he's actually going to come clean about what's on Mars, and you can almost guarantee he already knows. Think about this again. If I was filthy rich like he is, I'm going to have some, I can do it myself. I was going to say I was going to have somebody launch a satellite of my own to Mars and take photos. He's got his own rockets. He could have done it himself and say, I just want to see what's on Mars. And even if he had to talk to NASA about it, I just want to see. I'm going to keep it to myself. You can bet he's done it. So there you go, right? So I don't think he's fake. Think about it. If you were in his shoes, would you not do that yourself? I'd be like, yeah, I want to see for myself, man. I don't want to see anything doctored. I don't want to see anything bad. I want to see the real deal. So uh, that's what I'd do if I could. Um, I see you guys. Some of you guys are talking amongst each other, so I'm trying to just get to questions. Timothy, you also asked, yeah, what about the Mars hole? Not sure what you mean by that. English Viking 80%. You said they say could be a place where life could survive. Absolutely. Tim, you said talk about precise angles and pics you find. Um, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, there's some of these things. Like some people will say, listen, you can find 90 degrees in nature, and they're not lying. It's true. But for me, when you see like these multiple like 90 degrees, two for different angles, almost like a bottom of a frame kind of thing. Or you see them like all over the place. Or you see like a 90-degree angle, another 90-degree angle, and there's like multiple going different places. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to see it, like just in a hill. You go, okay, clearly that's something natural, and maybe the way the dust covered it over, it just gives it that 90-degree angle. Look, I wouldn't argue with that. What I would argue with is that if you see tons of these things in one area, and I'm not just talking about angles, I'm talking about squares, maybe ovals, circles, the whole nine. I mean, you're just like, what? How can you possibly see all that and say, oh, that's just rocks? It's just natural. I don't believe that, but some people do. Renee, you said, Chris, I don't understand that 10 people didn't like your video. Nine of them are from the people, whoever edited that photo. And yeah, from the other one. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I look at it like this, and I even said this. I think I had that. It was like I think it was a 30-minute video, 35-minute video. It wasn't 5 minutes later, got a thumbs down. And it's from these other channels. You know that. It's just because they didn't watch the thing. Clearly, they just went, oh, he posted one, click, thumbs down. And here's the funny part. They actually think they're hurting their channel. What they don't understand is that YouTube looks at it. It doesn't matter. You can get 100 thumbs down. They still see it as an interaction. That's what they want. They want an interaction so they know that your channel's doing well, good, bad, or indifferent. So they think they're causing harm by going thumbs down. It's like, you're not hurting anybody, man. It's like, but do what you got to do. That's the way I look at it. You're not hurting anybody. You're not hurting my channel. Do what you got to do. But, it's just the trolls that come into the channel, and hey, it's a given. It doesn't even bother me anymore, but I think it's just hilarious how they do that. Cannabis Farm Outdoor UK thoughts on the coronavirus. Well, like I said, to me, it's like they give it a different name every single year. Like I said, swine flu, bird flu, uh, whatever, wherever how it comes about, whether it's a virus, whatever it may be, right? You know, people get all worked up about it. In fact, my boss just told me today. He says, "Do me a favor, order a lot more. Like these antibacterial wipes, any kind of Lysols and stuff like that, because people are like, oh my god, they're freaking out. So just order more of that if you can too, in addition to what you normally order, so on and so forth." So that's what I did. I said, people, it's just another flu. Now, again, I'm not playing it down like it's nothing serious. I'm just saying that we get this all the time. That's all there is to it. It's every year it's something different. You ever notice that? It's a different flu or some kind of strain. People are like, well, I'm going to go for the flu shot this year. I never get them. And I guess if you're really like a senior citizen, you should. And if you're a child, you should look out, meaning a child, a young kid. Um, but to me, it's like there's a reason why you have an immune system. Okay. Your body will build an immunity to it. Now, don't get me wrong, your body's got to work through it. So that could be a pain. You're throwing up, this, that, and the other, all this other crap. But your body will build an immunity to it. I don't need a flu shot to do that. I want to strengthen my immune system. I don't need it beat up by a cocktail of garbage you're going to put in that shot. No, thank you. Every time I go to my doctor every year, it's like, you sure you don't want that flu shot? Nope, I'm good. All right. But that's just me. You guys don't have to think that way. I'm not a doctor. You guys do what you think is best. English mining 82%. I think they are planning on mining Mars and other planets. They've been planning that for years. Oh, absolutely. And like I said, wait until you see like some of the stuff. One of the things I stumbled upon, and it's funny because when you hear this, you're gonna go, oh, maybe that's one of the reasons. Yeah, there's actually maybe a resource on Mars that they may be after. Mr. Gosman, he said, saw Blue Origin's rocket work this week. Really good. Really looks good. A few ideas maybe for Elon. Well, again, it's that's what I love about Elon. I mean, he's like one of my heroes, and I'll tell you why. When a guy comes up with the Tesla, first of all, he came out with his Roadster, and I think it was like 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. What he did was, this is most people won't do this. What he did was he says, "I'm going to let my plans go out to everybody." I mean, he designed him and his engineers designed the electric motors, battery packs, the whole nine yards. Did all their in-house work, did their own stuff, and they said, "We're going to let the patents out to all you companies." Notice how all of a sudden, within the last year or two, boom, everybody's putting out these electric cars. They can go like miles upon miles upon miles. Think about that. I think even his Roadster went 270 miles on a one charge. Funny enough, now all these guys are jumping aboard, and you know what? That's awesome. It's a better way to forward our future. So I don't see a problem with that. I see it as a good thing. This thing just jumped here. Let's see. English Viking, 82%. You said countries have always been working viruses and such. Look at what happened here with the Spanish flu. Well, I mean, and here's the thing. These countries have been working on germ warfare, all this other crap. Even back in I think the 50s, they did actual test in one of the New York subways, and I forget what it was. It got like X amount of people ill or killed a few people down there. It was, and they found out it was actually made. It was a virus that was made. They just want to see, hey, let's just test it out. People be test rats. They don't care. Josh D says, Chris, the thumbs down is probably the guy's work for NASA board of directors. That could very well be, Josh. MC Game, what's going on? He said, hey, Chris, hey, community. Sorry I'm late to hang out with you fine people. Nah, I don't think nothing of it, MC Gamer. Good to see you in there, man. Jump right in. Dale, because says, bottom line is if you are healthy, you have nothing to worry about. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have to take precautions, right? I mean, you can't just go, no big deal. I'm invincible. No, don't do that. I mean, if you got a doctor, do your, yearly checkup, stay on top of that stuff. If you got a cold, do what you can on your end. Vitamin C, like I said, I was taking 1,000 milligrams, the emergency, and somebody had suggested that to me, which I was already doing anyway, but 1,000 milligrams in the morning, 1,000 at night. Then I started taking the antibiotics, which I have right here, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I was just literally attacking it from both ends, which does help you, but your immune system is what you need to keep strong, right? So, yeah, that's right, Dale. Yeah, he said if you're not healthy, you could have problems. Absolutely. Richard Mortimer says goose a grass tea. I'm not even familiar with that. I don't know if I even heard of it, but yeah, you just don't know, right? Mr. Gosby said, seeing the death rate per rate of population is frightening for me, though. 10% of 50s group. Well, I mean, I'm in the same boat, right? So, but it has a lot to do with it because here's the thing. It's like children. You can see children that some of them will have like my kids. My daughter, she used to have earaches all the time. My other daughter, nope. Oh, my son, nope. And they're hardly ever sick. Now, well, when they were children, they were because, but your immune system is being built. It's being built. It's being built. Some people are born with a kind of a crappy immune system. That's all there is to it. And so you do need that support and help yourself out. But like I said, you know, most of the times I've heard people, if they had the flu, is like they were like late 60s, right? Some of them were 50s as well, like you're saying. But yeah, you just gotta stay on top of this stuff. Just know the warning signs and see what you can do to on your end to fight it or whatever. And try not to go into places if you know it's like on the widespread. You do what you can not to go into public too much. At least if you have to go grocery shopping, do it when it's lesser people in there. So on and so forth. Just makes better sense. Try guys, slam that thumbs up, thumbs up, slam it hard. Noodles, fun fact, the only thing Putin fears is the Chinese to Soviet population ratio. It's a cold-blooded Novichok and doorknob. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Oops. Damn, I hate when this thing does it. Kenneth Lair, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Didn't see you pop in there. Doc Chuck is in there, and Doc Chuck Little Chuck. Hello, Chris and gang. Good to see you in there. Sky a coin. And Leo, mom told me. Doc Chuck, may I chime in on this talk? Absolutely. That's what you're here for. Go for it. Oregon. Oregano, rather. The hell? Let me make this bigger. I usually make the screen bigger to begin with. That's better. Oregano kills virus and cancer. Habanero peppers. Yep. Sky, you said I can't use my thumbs. Well, use your index fingers. It works either way. Well, Pete Ferrero, that's one thing is I swear it is the turmeric. And you said powder and vitamin C. Never got the flu. I get colds. That's what I get. Now I take turmeric because it's also good for prevention of some cancers as well. Turmeric is good. It's good for the anti-inflammation for your bones. A lot of good stuff. So anybody's has like all kinds of pains, or maybe they're older, just preventive maintenance on your body. Turmeric is one of the best things you can take. Take it every day. Yeah, it can. Well, Renee, you said, but too many antibiotics is not good, Chris. Affects the immune system. It affects more of your gut than anything, right? Because it basically you get those. I'm trying to think of you. That's why they always say take probiotics because of basically the living. I'm going to use the term creatures, but it's not creatures. But it's for digestion and stuff like you can kill them off, and then you'll have an unhealthy gut. So what I do is after I use those, I'll take probiotics and stuff like that. The other thing you can watch out for is when you take a lot of that is your body will become immune and it will no longer be able to use the antibiotics. So that's why you can't just go crazy with it. I don't use it like it's candy. You know what I mean? I don't do that. I just use it if I absolutely need it. And I said, yeah, I'm just not going to take the chance because I'm like you guys. I got to make that dollar bill. I got to go to work. I got to do my thing. So last thing I need to do is be on my back because this thing's kicking my ass, right? English Viking, you said we'll never know the truth. China will never let that happen. Everything they tell us is what they want us to know, true or not. Well, I mean, China's also landed on the moon, on the other side of the moon. It's actually closer to the south pole of the moon. And if you've seen their photos, oh my God, I don't know which is worse, NASA JPL's or theirs. Oh my God, it's sad. The second they came out with the Chang'e 4, one of their photos, what I do is I took that photo on what, how does any of their public look at that and go, oh, that looks fantastic? Sorry, not going to happen, especially in this day and age. The cameras should be phenomenal going up there, and you can literally see it. They completely, block that shit right out. You can just see the lander and nothing but fog. And I don't mean literally a fog. I mean, it's just, whited out. It's censored. It's sad. Natural Spirit says habanero peppers was used on polio, the chemical that's in the peppers. Yeah, well, it's good for many things. I think there's a few things that I heard that it was pretty good for. So nothing wrong with that. Oh yeah, Doc Chuck. Yeah, we're all over that because you said turmeric must have a cayenne pepper with yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But it actually works on its own too. So I know what you're saying as far as absorption, but it actually works on its own too. So don't let that kid you. It'll still work, but like you said, in certain cases when you have the cayenne with it, it actually helps in absorption for other things. It's weird how they break it down. Thank you, Alien Tenno. Appreciate you. Chris, your thoughts on Earth's new moon? This is what I find amazing because when I read the article, I read one that was small, it was brief. They said there's a new moon. I said, well, wait a minute, there is no new moon. Is there a third moon I don't know about? I'm reading this and I'm saying because we already have a second moon. We've had one. It's in a lot wider elliptical, but we've always had a second moon. I don't know why they're saying it now like it's a new thing. Is there a third moon? Am I missing something, guys, or is they just saying it's our second moon? Because we've known about a second moon for years. So I don't know why this is suddenly new news. Oh, I hate it when it does it. Oh, there you go. Ian Thompson, you said, evening, Chris and chat. Turmeric is good for arthritis for sure. Inflammatory, really reduces discomfort. And you know what? Listen, working, I've always worked, with my hands, mechanic, tool setter, stuff like that. I've always worked on, with my arms. The cuffs of my arms are junk. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still function, do everything else, but you can just feel the discomfort, man. It's bad. But, turmeric greatly helps. I mean, it was like to the point where you're like, oh my God, it hurts, it hurts. This stuff, boom. I take one in the morning, one at night. I'm good. My discomfort level is probably a 1 to a 2, maybe out of 10, meaning, oh, it's excruciating. It's like, and I don't take any pain pills, none of that junk. I don't do it. I'm not into that kind of crap. All right, Daniel, I will. Hagman, you said, Chris, when you can, please check your messages on Facebook. I sent you. Okay, I'll do that. Renee Van Oosterd, you said, Chris, yes, Chris, the new Mini. What do you think? Are you talking about the vehicle? Are you talking about the new E-Mini? Which one are you talking about? Just Detroit Serb, love your work. I'm first generation Serbian American, where schools would have taught us more about space to excite the youth back in the 70s and 80s. My parents had no clue about this stuff. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that, Detroit, Serb. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that saying about my work. Yeah, I mean, to me, now don't get me wrong, you can't just dog science totally, right? Because they're learning something new every day, and that's what science does, right? If they're wrong, as the science goes on, they will correct themselves. That's what science does. Um, and they probably didn't know as much as they do today. Although maybe mainstream science didn't know, but these people that are into these space agencies probably did know. Because if you go back to these Apollo missions, like I just did my moon video, when you see that moon video, you just see what they're hiding. And these so called hills, they're not hills. And I explain in that video why and how they could possibly do this. And there's just things in that hill that are just not natural. There's no way. Nor is the little things that were on the ground. It looks like little twisted metal and cubes on the ground. I mean, what? I mean, I'm okay with rocks. We see rocks, they're rocks. We can all admit that. But when you see cubes and boxes and weird things, no, there's no way. FC Mackin, I don't know if you would say Mackin. We were warned many times that the deep state will pull off this virus scare during the election. And you notice it almost happens almost all the time? Think about that. So now, we're asking Congress for, what was it, 8.2 billion? What the hell was it? It was something absurd money to try to fight this virus. What do you mean fight? I'm confused. I mean, Noodles, you're right about that. You said look at the names of the zones that Chinese rover visited. It's a military empire conquest, and the names they chose reflect that. This is what I'm getting at. And if anybody's, just take a look at it. Just take a look at the newest. Let me see here. Whoops. This thing, I don't know why. I thought I had it on live chat. Here we go. Whoops. Hate it when that happens. There we go. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, go ahead and check out the Chinese or the China Chang'e 4's photos of the moon. Listen, you don't even have to be a photographer, an expert, nothing. You can look at it and go, how does anybody take that seriously? So they put like some kind of weird subpar camera on there. No, it's going to be the most highest tech we can find, right? And the cameras we got today are phenomenal. And I'm not talking about the little ones you find in your little iPhones and your stuff like that. I'm not talking about that garbage. I'm talking about real phenomenal cameras. They have such detail, but yet you look at these photos that they have, completely censored photos. Oh my God, it's sad. They must think people are dumbbells. They must really think that the public's a bunch of idiots. That's the only thing I can say, man. It's insane. Alien Tenno, you said probably probably Earth's new moon is a part of the incoming Nemesis system. Well, again, I mean, I remember hearing that years ago, man. They were talking about a second moon, and it's much smaller than what we have. And again, it's on an elliptical. Um, and so I don't know why suddenly, unless, like I said, unless there's a third one I'm missing. There's always been two. At least for years, they talked about that. Martin Ederveen, you said, Chris, have you ever seen my Facebook messages to you? Not sure. When was the last time you sent one, Martin? Noodle says Earth's new moon is a Disney product. I bet. Well, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, right? Like we had Pluto, yeah, named after the dog. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly, Pete. You said I've read that the second moon isn't actually in Earth's gravitational pull; it follows more in orbit to the sun. Well, like I said, it's like this huge elliptical, and it'll come towards the moon, or goes. I'm sorry, goes around Earth. But depending on what you read, it sounds like it's coming near it, or it actually goes around it. But it's in such an elliptical, we don't see it. So either way, You're right, MC Gamer. You're right. He says, "Are you crazy, Chris? It's all swamp gas." Now the truth comes out. All right, party's over. Bye, bye guys. uh, oh, Martin, you said I'm trying to have a look at a specific picture, please. Um, okay, I'll have to check that out after this because, like I said, I can't do it at the moment. But yeah, I gotta check these out because, like I said, guys, I'll be truthful. I haven't been really looking at these things. In fact, the mail I haven't really looked at because super busy this week, and I wish I had more time away from that job because I can do a lot more here. But you got to balance out. You got to pay your bills. You know what I'm saying? It's like so. It is what it is. It's 3 p.m. in sunny Vancouver. Oh, I'm glad you got sunny. Let's see, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, wind chill's 32, 7 to 12 miles per hour. Nice. Elohim Daleth in school, grade 2. The lesson was Earth's minor moon called Toro. Huh. Yeah, it's weird how that works. It's like, you know, I guess it just comes down to research. Think about it. If there's a certain subject you like, just delve into it and just research the hell out of it. Because, like I said, I knew about that second moon for I don't know how long, and now they're making it sound like it's all, oh wow, it's all new. It's like what? Um, I don't know how they can say that is. Okay, Martin, you said you found it on one of mine basically reviews. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I'll give you your answer on there anyway. Quantum Discovery Network. Toy Story got their characters from the moon. Say what? New moon. Well, so you're saying, Mr. Gospel, you're saying it's the third moon now? Is that what they're saying? And now this third moon. Hmm. James Smart. I'm not sure which one you're talking about because he said, "What is your take on the mega asteroid that's supposed to hit Earth in April?" I'm not aware of one that's supposed to hit. Now I know they have like this. You can go on there. I think it's you could put on there. I think it's either asteroids or rocks that might hit Earth. You could look it up. There's a chart that will say all of these and it'll say how many miles they think they're going to come. They're calculated. That'll come close to Earth and everything else. I haven't heard one that's going to actually hit Earth or now there's a lot that will come close. Don't get me wrong, but I haven't heard of one that's going to hit. 250 Saber, what's going on? Hey, Chris, I'm with you, lad, from Cole, Canada. Yeah, it's, like I said, we had like 67 degrees, 65 degrees in the last couple of days. I was like, yeah, come on, spring. And all of a sudden, right in the can. So, like I said, we're at 38 degrees and wind chill's like 34, whatever it is. So, um, you know, and now they said it's supposed to be maybe snow tonight. So, who knows? But then Sunday, it's back up to 60. So, I'm not complaining, guys. I'm really not complaining. It's like, come on, spring, bring it on. Give winter a kick in the ass and get it out of here. Daniel Hagman, you said the structures on Mars and the moon are undeniable. I just wish NASA could come clean and tell us the truth. And it's not just NASA anymore. It's ESA or ESA. You got China. All of these guys are like all working together. And like I said, there's a PR section of all of these space agencies, meaning all these people are working these big offices and they're showing the public, look at the rocks and look at this, look at that. And then there's like the higher up, the more like the black ops kind of thing, if you want to call it that, where they literally, um, they literally, hide the stuff. In other words, if it's the people that really know that's in the know and they're just hiding it from us, right? MC Gamer, thank you, sir. I appreciate your support. You said another donation for your trip to Mars. Big credit. Yeah, that might work. Man, it's gonna be a lot of tips though. It's gonna be a lot of donations, man, to get my butt to Mars. Maybe when I'm 70. If we keep giving donations, I'll save it. Doughboy UK, what's going on, man? You said, hi, Chris. Hi, all. Not a bad idea, Doc Chuck. You said, Chris, every 10, 15 minutes, you need a gray walk out of one door and go into the other door for a background. There you go. Just have like a little gray alien come out and one go back in. That'd be funny. Where did I just go? I just seen somebody said something about. Well, and I'm saying the same thing, Timothy. He said Elon Musk just tweeted this coronavirus scare is dumb. Now, here's another thing that's really dumb about this aspect. Have you guys heard this? The actual Corona bear or the drink, literally, people are scared to drink it. Does anybody think that this makes sense? Because it says Corona, we're not drinking it. Where's the mentality here? Has anybody else heard of that? Buddy of mine was telling me that in work. He said, yeah, they just decided it's like their stocks dropped and everything because of that. I'm like, so do they think because it's called that, they're actually putting the virus in there? I mean, where's the mentality here? I mean, really weird. William John says, I'm kind of new to all of this science instead of sci fi. Absolutely. Um, well, if you're new to this, William, I mean, basically, that's what we do here. We just analyze photos. And what we'll do is we'll look at something and anything that looks anomalous that stands out. That's what anomalous means, stands out from its surrounding. We look at it and I'll say what I think it may look like. We don't speak in, definitive here. We purely speculate. We say, this is what it looks like to me. And some things I'll just say, listen, this looks mechanical. There's no way this looks like a rock because it doesn't. And there's things that stick out of a rock, like my latest moon video where it's on my other channel, Lunar Anomalies and Beyond. You can see what looks like something steel or something coming out of the bottom of the rock. This what looks like this weird honeycomb thing at the top, and they look like they could see where they're drawn over it. Just bizarre stuff, man. And what's in the hills in the back there? No way. It's like I don't think NASA anticipated people getting Photoshop. Now, I did read a while back that they had, what was the other manipulation software? GIMP. They were using GIMP long before it was introduced to the public, and it doesn't surprise me just by looking at these moon photos. Okay, and if that's true, they were probably thinking, "Oh, we'll just cover it up; the public won't see it," and they would have been absolutely right back in the day. But now that everybody's got Photoshop, if they really want to research these photos, they can pull them apart, and any one of you guys can do this, and you'll see for yourself. It's right there. So, and I don't think they anticipated that. They were thinking, oh, yeah, yeah, these guys are stupid. They won't see it. And they were right. I'd look at the photo back then. I wouldn't think nothing of it. And I wouldn't think for a moment they'd be manipulating these photos. But guess what? Now, in this day and age, everybody can do it. And they're seeing it now. How did they get out of that? Like they said, oh, it's just swamp gas. Sure. Martin, I've actually done a video about Banu. Because you said, Chris, perhaps you can also take a look at the pictures from taken from Banu. I got a video on that Banu, and what was the other one that looks very similar? They almost look like a diamond kind of rock out in space, these asteroids, and they almost look identical. And what's the chances of them just, oh, look, a rock, and they just want to go to that specific one? There's so many rocks out there, especially in the asteroid belt. Now, I'm sure some of them are closer, and this is the reason why we took the trip there. But these things are traveling through space, probably hurtling through space at 27,000 miles an hour. But yet, we're going to pick that Pacific rock or that asteroid, and that asteroid, they almost look identical. Is it pure coincidence they're doing that, or is there something else to it? Or because that rock looks so almost intelligently made, they're going after it. Why them? Why not? There's billions of rocks to go check out. But yet, those two are the ones they had to check out. And what, 67P? I mean, there's so many rocks that they're going after for a reason. There's so many rocks out in space. Again, the question stands, why just those 2, 3, whatever they may have checked, right? Greg McCauley, thank you again for your support. Is always appreciated. Best thing is they can't, I'm sorry. Best thing is they can't say it's just swamp gas or a weather balloon on Mars. You got that right. It's not on somebody's farm, right? oh, it's just a balloon, weather balloon or swamp gas or some crazy shit to come out with. But again, Craig, appreciate your support, man. Um, Elohim, you said, I wonder if the radio waves Tesla discovered, Dark Knight, Black Knight satellite, is one of these minor moons. No, it wouldn't have been that, but um, yeah, he thinks he actually heard like radio waves or radio transmissions from Mars, he believes. But then, when this Dark Knight came along, they said, well, maybe that's what he was listening to. Possibility, if the Black Knight was between, of course, you got Earth, Black Knight, and then Mars, maybe he did it. But if he was on the other side or the Black Knight was over here and he received it, what was he receiving? Now, unless, of course, this thing's giving off like a signal omnidirectional and somehow he's still able to pick it up, right? But anybody knows if you're in radio, you have to have a certain, the propagation has to be perfect to be able to hear. Like if I was sitting right now, listening to my radio, my short wave, I would have to listen to it, the propagation. The atmosphere has to be just right for me to hear around the world. So I don't know if that's the case back in the day because there wasn't a whole lot of radio back then. There was, but not like you have today. So is it possible he was listening to something that was coming from Mars? A good question. No way to answer it, but yeah, good question. Tom Westry or West, he said a second moon was ejected several years ago. Not aware of that. Now, let me jump way down here. English Viking here. He said I watch a lot of History Channel and Science Channel. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Timothy Ryan, you said need to see video, audio from Mars, Chris. Absolutely. And here's the funny part. Like I said, the Curiosity rover, and I believe the other rovers were too, they're both Spirit and Opportunity at the time. They literally say that these cameras on there were capable of HD video and photos. Okay. And I've also speculated because I don't know that for sure. But back in the Viking, back in 1975 and 1976, the Viking lander, I would have thought that would have been the first thing they put on there. The first two things, eyes and ears. I find it hard to believe that they didn't, because if they're taking snapshots, right? Snapshots got a lot more information than a simple 5-second audio bite. So if they can send a photo, why couldn't they send a simple audio bite? Well, how many kilobytes would it be? You know what I mean? And it was very low, transfer rate at the time. So to me, it would make sense that, they would have had both. I find it hard to believe they didn't. Because like I said many times, it's like all these people are sitting around going, yeah, what kind of equipment do you think we should put on this? Oh, we'll put a camera and then maybe some, we'll put like some soil experimentation or instruments on there to do, check the soil. Okay. Never thought about putting ears on this thing? Come on. I just find that very hard to believe. These guys are like the smartest people on the planet, and yet they couldn't come up with that idea. Find it hard to believe. Andrew Haberman, I didn't see you sneaking in there. Good to see you in there. Oh, yeah. What's going on there, Beavis? He said a dust storm or lens glare is the new excuse. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anything but the truth. Oh, like I said, you guys seen this yourselves, and I think I might have given you guys a video a while back. But look at, I think you can find it on YouTube if you Google, I was going to say if you Google it, if you put on there in the search bar, like Insight First Photos, and they have a video on there. And I remember seeing this live, and they literally had the whole control room, right? They're all standing there waiting for the very first pictures from the Insight lander. Well, they're sitting there, and the first one that comes out has a bunch of specks all over the lens. Okay. Not, and you can see it's all brown. I'm sorry, it's blue. And the people are going, hey, wow. And you can literally hear the people saying, look, the sky's blue. It wasn't 10 seconds later, everything went orange. Funny thing about it, this is what's crazier. How did the lens clear itself? Think of that. That's why I kind of speculated that maybe they had some kind of little airlines on each side of the lens and just burst it and get it off. Although when I look at the pictures up close of like the Molly cam on the Curiosity rover, the mass cam, stuff like that, you don't see any of that. So what's clearing these lenses? That's what I don't get. But it was briefly blue sky, regular, like almost like an orange brownish gravel and dirt. All of a sudden, 10 seconds later, boom, all went orange. What the hell is going on? So that proved to me, it reinforced what I've been saying. The sky is actually blue. It's not actually red like they claim it is. Hey, what's going on there, Lucky Mo? Joining late. I get the notifications for every channel except this one. That's why when you get used to the idea of like, the hangouts and stuff. Now, we didn't have any the last couple weeks, but, just check 5 p.m. all the time because even if you don't get it, you just go, hey, you probably will be having one. Let me go check it because I don't know how many people have said that. They go, I'm not getting notifications. Just check every day, whether it's for videos or the hangout, whatever it may be. And you don't have to worry about dealing with, the algorithm on there. You know how that goes, right? It's toss 1AV. Yesterday's lunar post was the best yet. Well, yeah, I mean, it's about bringing out what's really there. And like I said, if they've lied about what's on the moon, they're going to lie about every other darn planet. Why stop there? Think about it. Let's say for argument's sake, they said, well, okay, um, we had. I wonder if I could play that audio bite too. That would be interesting. There was a. I'll tell you this in a second, but um, when let's suppose they said, okay, we found something on the moon, and it's not ours, and it's intelligently made. Well, then they would not only screw themselves for the moon, but then what's on Mars? Because clearly, if there's something on the moon that's not ours, then you know darn well the moon is a rock. It's a cold rock. What was Mars like? Mars was actually a planet just like ours back in the day, and I still believe it's much like it is. And it's I guess it could be speculative because we can't actually tell. But like I said about the InSight lander, showed a blue sky, methane spikes, oxygen spikes, different. We got carbon at the rare end. It's like 93% carbon on the moon, which plants thrive in, and they give off oxygen because that's the funny thing: methane and oxygen. They see spikes every spring and summer. Imagine that. Imagine that. When does plants mostly grow and fill in trees and everything else? There you go. Now, they're not coming out and directly saying that, so it's pure speculation on our part. But you don't have to be a nitwit to figure this out. You don't have to be an Einstein to figure this out. You just go, okay, wait a minute. Put all of the stuff together, water cycle, blue sky, this, that, the other. You can almost see which the picture coming together, right? Yeah. MC Gaming said, "Hey Chris, have you seen any pictures of the Mars poles? A lot of shit going down in that area. I heard something about it. This is what I find interesting. They're not only finding that Mars has a lot of quakes now, but they're so minute that you wouldn't even feel them here on Earth. And we'll get to that in a minute. And another thing too, have you guys heard anything about that volcano that was erupting? Never heard another word about it. Completely stopped. Now I did a video on that where when it showed like that, like a plume of smoke coming off of it. This is what's funny. When I brought down the brightness, it looked like a shape of something sitting right there. And it wasn't even at the volcano because I believe it was one, two, three. I think it was the one at the very bottom. And I forget exactly which one that one's called. But you got the three of them together. And of course, you got, I'm going to draw a blank on that too. It's been so long since I've talked about them. I'm sure you guys remember. You guys are going to fill me in on this. But anyways, the bottom of the three, that one there showed it was erupting, and I'm going, oh, wow, that's interesting. But like I said, when I brought the brightness down, because they had it so bright, when I brought it down, you can literally see like an object. And I'm saying, I wonder if it was something that crashed there, and that's what we're seeing, a plume of smoke coming out of this thing. And it would have to be quite large. It was next to one of these darn volcanoes. And the way it showed is here's the volcano, and it looked like it was coming out of or off the wall, like it blew out, like Mount St. Helens, right? Blew the side wall out. Well, when you look at it, it's not even on the wall itself. It's like near the base. Now, that's a possibility too, right? It blew out of the base. Very good possibility. But when you broke it down, it looked like some kind of object, a little white square object or rectangular object was there at the base. Hmm. Why would it be a centralized area? Now, it could be a blown hole, but it looked more of a square rectangular, right? But yeah, there's so much going on in Mars. It's not even funny. And you're starting to see more and more of this stuff. Yes, yes, coming out. It's coming out. Oh yeah, Timothy. I was saying the very same thing on one of these live hangouts when I said that. You said I watched a documentary on the new helicopter on the rover, and that thing is built right. But watch, NASA's going to say that they lost it. Yeah, that's what I said. The same thing. Either that it'll go to take off, and somehow it got windy and bang, it slammed into a rock, and now it's inactive. You watch and see. Something will happen to it because I find it interesting. They're selling. I didn't care that they're sending a helicopter. Right. This is what I found interesting. Um, the fact that they said it's going to help the rover guide it. It's going to guide the rover. Wait a minute. So how's the Curiosity rover doing it? It runs autonomously. If we're not controlling it, giving it commands, it can autonomously do it. Just do its own thing. It searches. So it can stop. It can navigate. It can do it all by itself. All we got to do is if it stops, okay, we can give it commands. Okay, go to that next area. And then it'll just proceed and go. And it'll navigate and go over rocks and whatever else. It navigates whether the rock is too big or whether it's too small. I seen one boulder this thing climbed over it. It was like, if you got in a fetal position, it'd pretty much roll over you. And it would make sense, right? It could do that because it's quite large. It's like the size of a small SUV. But you watch, I said the same thing. Funny enough, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but NASA's next mission in 2026 is sending a Dragonfly. They call it the Dragonfly, and it's going to go in 2026, and it's going to arrive in 2034. It's an octocopter drone. It's going to be at the surface of Titan. That's going to be interesting because they're going to go into the atmosphere and check it out and stuff like that. Now, how do they know that atmosphere that well that thing will even survive? But the good thing about these machines is you don't have to worry about it, the air quality, unless, of course, you're talking about density as far as air. This thing can fly and everything else. But other than that, it can be made up of basically any gas because it doesn't have to breathe, right? So that's why they're sending a lot of these, copters and everything else because they can survive in it within reason. So it'll be interesting to see the one on Mars as well as this one in 2026, the Dragonfly. We'll see that too. Hey, Odds and Crafts, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better there, doing a little bit better. I still get that little bit of scratchiness, and it'll just get worse because I'm talking, but I don't mind. It's not a big deal to me. Well, yeah, I mean, Frank, you said NASA only puts out just enough Mars info to keep its audience interested, only about the money. Well, like I said before, it's like, they have to go in front of Congress to ask for this money, this certain budget every year, right? So they have to give them something. All right. So they claim, rocks, we're getting closer. I think we can find life and so on and so forth. And they're really optimistic about finding life. If you just listen to the way they talk about this next 2020 rover, in fact, I think it's going up in April. I think it's taking off in April, obviously in 2020 this year. And it'll be on Mars in 2021. So I'm interested that to see what the pictures look like, first of all. But they get the money from there, and they're just talking about, oh yeah, it's all about geology, and we're checking for life, but they're really optimistic about finding it. So that's interesting. Here's what I find interesting too. I want to show you guys. I'm finding it really odd that a lot of people have seen these triangular craft in the sky, right? Now suddenly you can find a triangular spacecraft. It's a patent through the government. So are they cloning this information? Did they get one of these things and they're cloning it? Or are they trying to make it and they're saying, oh, yeah, it's been ours all this time, has nothing to do with aliens? It's that weird kind of thing. Now, it tells you, it's got the abstract and it tells you description of it, everything from, it says brief summary of invention, background of the invention, and it gets everything into like, mathematics you wouldn't believe, right? Talking about the spacecraft comprised of the following components, tells you all that, but it's got a patent. Let me see where it's from. This is what's interesting. Worldwide applications. It was in 2004. They applied for this. Inventor John St. Clair. Now it's the patent was US 20060145019 I'm sorry, 9A1. And then when it starts off, is 2004 application filed by St. Clair John Q. 2004 priority to US. And of course, it shows a patent, publication of the patent. Then it says in 2020, February 25th, application status is abandoned. Imagine that. I'll give you guys the link there. You can check it out. And it talks about how this thing's even built. But it makes you wonder, are they just throwing this BS at us just so they can, say, oh, so it's actually ours and not some alien? Here's the link to it if you guys want to check it out. Let's get on to the next one. This is what's interesting. The InSight lander now, get this, its findings show that the Martian magnetic field is 10 times stronger than expected. Okay, magnetic field's it's stronger than they thought. Blue skies, water cycle, methane spikes, oxygen spikes, spring and summertime that happens. Melting of the polar caps in the colder months. They reoccur in the colder months. I mean, so warmer, they disappear or shrink, just like here on Earth, and they expand. And it's not just carbon ice, it's actually water ice, H2O. Imagine that. So let's really, really think about this, right? But it's talking about the magnetic field, and it's talking about how it has, I think it registered since it's been there, about 450 something earthquakes, mini quakes that we wouldn't feel here on Earth. So I'll give you that. I'm going to drop that link for you guys as well. You guys can all check this out. So you know where I'm getting this information. I'm just not pulling it out of my rear end. I like to give you guys those links. So that's that link right there. This one's pretty interesting. There may still be life on Mars, but we are going to have to dig to find it. Okay. Let me see this. This is NASA's missions to Mars have offered scientists a glimpse at what ancient Mars might have been like. That's exciting since it could reveal that Mars once had habitable, perhaps billions of years ago. It might have been was once habitable rather. I'm sorry, but what if Mars was still habitable today? Believe it or not, it actually might be. Is what they say. And researchers are considering the possibility that Martian underground still provides conditions suitable for life to not only exist but to thrive. Huh. So none of this life could possibly come out from underground, right? Especially if it's in a magnetic field area, okay, which being basically shielded from the solar radiation. That couldn't happen, right? Couldn't have organics there, right? We already know a lot about the Martian surface. Specifically, we know that the conditions are extremely hostile to life, and it's unlikely that parts of Mars, which we've explored with rovers and other hardware, could support life over long term. Okay, but I'll give you guys this page, and when you read it, pretty interesting stuff. Go ahead and copy that. Drop this link here. The reason why I'm looking up, guys, I actually have a monitor up on the shelf there because I got two computers side by side here. And then I got one up on the wall. So that's why I'm over like this. So paste it there. You guys can check this one out. That's that one there. I hate this thing when it does this. Get rid of that. Okay, stop. It's just one of these advertising videos. Here's another one. Oxygen's strange behavior on Mars creates a new mystery. Imagine that. Scientists have discovered something strange about the oxygen levels on Mars. Over the course of 6 years, the Curiosity rover measured gases during different seasons on the planet, and NASA learned that oxygen increases in the Martian atmosphere in the spring and the summer. Now keep in mind that's in the atmosphere. Of course, they're not being specific. Are they talking about upper atmosphere, middle atmosphere, to the bottom? Because they're in Gale crater, it's like a bowl, right? Most gases will settle. So there's a chance. And I've made speculation about this. In fact, I was kind of going back and forth with a guy on here. We were kind of off to a bad start and got shitty with each other kind of thing. Because I thought he was kind of subtly kind of attacked my channel. So we were talking about facts and this, that, and the other. And so we pretty much ironed it out. But I was telling, and it's pure speculation, but the way they describe this, okay, I mean, it says it right there. It says the atmosphere. Now, they're saying in the atmosphere. So what happens closer to the ground? Wouldn't it be thicker? That doesn't always mean that, but wouldn't it be? Now, scientists are trying to solve the oxygen mystery and figure out why the levels fluctuate during the year. Plant growth? I mean, call me silly here, but plant growth? Um, Curiosity's rover unusual measurements. The Curiosity rover used its sample analysis at Mars, or the SAM instrument, to measure gases in the Martian atmosphere. It found that 0.16% of the atmosphere was molecular oxygen, O2. In addition, it discovered that levels of oxygen increased in the spring and the summer by 30% and decreased in the fall. Right, when organics die. Okay. This pattern repeated each spring, though the amount of oxygen added to the atmosphere varied, implying that something was producing it and then taking it away. Trees grow. In the fall, things die. Common sense. Now, I looked this up. I don't know if you guys have read this, but I decided to say, well, let me check something here on Google. And I asked, and I put in Google, you guys can do this yourself. What natural resources give off oxygen? Short answer is this. Half of the world's oxygen, and I'm talking about here for Earth, so it only applies here to Earth. Doesn't mean it doesn't apply to Mars as well. Half of the world's oxygen is produced via phytoplankton photosynthesis. The other half is produced via photosynthesis on land by trees, shrubs, grasses, and other plants. As green plants die and fall to the ground, or sink in the ocean floor, or sink to the ocean floor rather, a small fraction of the organic carbon is buried. Then I asked, what natural resources give off methane? Methane comes, this is what I was talking about, a natural source or some kind of energy source or some kind of source they may be, one of the things they may be looking for, right? It says, I put on there what natural resources, again, give off methane. Well, methane comes from natural sources, such as wetlands and animal digestion, along with thermogenic sources, including oil and gas production. Natural gas is approximately 90% methane, natural gas. Now, is it possible, thinking more in science here, that these small quakes are letting out these pockets of natural gas? That's a very good possibility. However, oxygen spikes, methane spikes. I mean, look at the puzzle pieces here, guys. I'm going to give you this page too. About, and this, believe it or not, guys, this is on. I think it's Sciencing. I think it's called. Let me see. There's something else here. Where was he? The Oxygen Mystery. And you guys can. I'll give you the link. I'm going to drop this right here. Check that as well. I like to provide links because some people go, "Oh, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Well, here it is, man. It's right here in writing. Scientists believe that the Curiosity's rovers mentioned are accurate and not a fluke. Okay. However, they're strongly to explain why oxygen levels will increase and decrease based on the Martian seasons. I'm confused. Now they're wondering what could create oxygen on Mars. First, the possibility of water molecules breaking up and releasing oxygen into the atmosphere, which is a very good possibility. We get a lot of oxygen, our oxygen from oceans. Releasing oxygen into the atmosphere doesn't make sense because there's not enough water. Really? They found a giant lake under the ground. Is it possible there's like an open fissure or some kind of open area where it's letting it out? Second, carbon dioxide can't be responsible for extra oxygen either, since it takes too long for it to fall apart. One possibility is that microbes are making oxygen during different parts of the year. This is my problem with it. Microbes. How much microbes would it have to be to produce something that's really measurable in the atmosphere? That's a lot of microbes. And it just so happens they're just extremely active. But what are those microbes eating off of? Anyone? Another option is that the chemical process involved in the soil, rocks or water, are affecting atmosphere oxygen on the planet. What do you guys think? Like I said, I dropped the link. You guys can check it out. Yeah. Listen, guys, I just see this stuff and I'm going, man, it's just pointing to organics. I mean, Timothy Bell, wife just got home, got to go stock up for this quarantine. Today, my wife boss asked if she could, of course, it got dropped off here, but has a computer to work from home. Oh, okay. Yeah, probably should stay home, stay away from some of these people that just, I'll just come to work and spread it out. Well, if you're taking off, Timothy, good to see you in there, man. Appreciate you being here. Well, hey, Corj Grolt, what's going on? He said, how much oxygen? They claim it's 0.16%. which is really, really low, right? But you have to ask yourself this question: is the rover on top of this said source, or is it a distance away? What about the area that it's really, is it just sniffing it from a distance away and it's seeing it? Or is it right on top of this source that's emitting this oxygen? That's what we got to ask ourselves. Maybe this is off miles away. And if the rover was really there, how much percentage would it be then? Exactly where is this thing at? Because I know that the satellites can measure the atmosphere as well. So, yeah. What? I mean, just do the math here, guys. Just put the puzzle pieces together. Now, again, we're just speculating, but when I look at all of this information coming in, I'm putting it together. I'm going, man, it's like your area right now. If you could fly over with a test equipment as far as methane in the wintertime in a forest, how much do you think would be emitted? Probably not a whole lot. How much would be coming out of it? Okay, now I want you to picture it like end of spring going into summer. How much more would you see then? It just stands to reason. Plants give off oxygen. There's enough carbon on Mars for it to thrive like mad. So it would make sense that it grows in the warmer temps. It gives off oxygen and as well as methane as well. Of course, methane can be natural sources as well, just like they claim, oxygen can, which is true. So either way, there's some kind of processes going on there. Bush Corey, what's going on? You said, hey, Chris, hi, gang. I made it late, but I'm here. It's all right, man. You're here. Appreciate you being here. Supreme Ruler, what's going on, man? Good to see you in there. I seen you jump in there earlier, but I was busy babbling, so yeah. Quantum Discovery Network says Google is artificial intelligence, total research tool. Well, yeah, I mean, I always tell people if you're not down with what a certain page says, right, then keep researching it because you'll find peer-reviewed papers from scientists that talk about the atmosphere, which I try to do if I can find it, um, and and then come to your own conclusions. Read it and come to your own conclusions. I don't think scientists are going to lie about it. They're going to be pretty accurate, right? Unless, of course, they probably work for NASA. Yeah, it's probably nothing. Just Martian swamp gas. That's all it is. You'd be all right. Let me drop way down here. Alien Tenno says there is water in space. It's called comets. And that's another thing I talked about, Alien. And remember, we talked about how you see these rocks and these asteroids or whatever they may be, comets, where they've got this water, like the moon Enceladus, got these bodies of water under their surface, and all of these comets with this water coming off them. How much water can come from these comets before they dry up? How are they getting refueled? I mean, at some point, how does that work? I mean, I'm no astrophysicist or anything else. Maybe somebody's got the answer to this. I don't know. Hudson Crouch, you said such good points, Chris. You should do a TED talk about this, and I'm not joking. Well, and these are questions I think the average person would ask, right? And I'd love to have some of these NASA people sit down, with somebody like ourselves or whatever, because I'd be curious. Because you'd be able to see if they're trying to baffle you with BS or if they're actually going to say it truthfully and say no. And then you go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense to me. Because I'm okay with science, man. I love science. So if it's got to do with it and it makes absolute sense and I can look it up myself and I go, yeah, well, I concur or I don't. Right. So, yeah, exactly. Quantum discovery. You said microbes decay food. Exactly. They have to be feeding on something. To me, it's organics. Has to be. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but I mean, then is it other creatures that have died in the decay or whatever, right? Yeah, one form or another, there's some kind of life on that planet, and there's like a food chain going on, right? Would you guys agree with that, or do you think it's something else? Is strictly natural? Craig McCollin, I'm sorry, McLaughlin. What's going on, man? He said Ben Rich, the director of Lockheed Skunk Works was asked at the launch of Spirit how far ahead of this technology we were 10, 20, 30 years. Not even surprised. Not even surprised in the least bit. I'm going to show you guys a photo in one of these. I don't have it right now because I got it on my computer, but I'm going to show it in my next Mars video just to give you guys an idea. It won't pertain to the actual what we're showing in the picture, but what it's going to pertain to is the actual technology that they had um, on the moon and on Mars. And guess what? Guess what is the same thing? The power source, the nuclear power source that they used on the Curiosity rover, they were using on the moon. It's basically, it's a nuclear power source, a decaying. I don't know if it was a plutonium or what they were using on that particular one, but it was still a power source that they brought up with them, and it was running the instruments, and we're still using it to this day. They had that back in the '60s. Oops. MG Toe, what's going on? He said worms on planet. Yep. What do worms do? They just eat on like a microscopic level kind of thing, right? Bush Corey, great question. You said, how easy would it be for ETs to find us with all the signals we send out from Earth? I think it would be easy, just easy peasy, to be truthful with you. Because, like you said, I mean, radio signal waves. Keep in mind, radio waves travel really good. I mean, out in the void of space, right? It's just there's nothing to hold it back. There's no obstacles. It just travels, right? Now, don't get me wrong; it take years upon years to travel wherever, but we transmit from all sides of the world, the planet. So it's going out in like an omnidirectional direction, period. So it'd be nothing for them to find us if they're not already aware of us. I'm sure they are. Excuse me. Oof. Dr. Krabs, he said, thanks for the reply, Chris. Love your work. Thank you for your time and compassion, all the energy and effort you put into it. You inspire us all. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it means a lot. But I love the idea that when you guys do the same, right? You guys are putting in information sometimes I don't even hear about. But then I go, fine, I'm going to look it up myself. And this is the reason why I kind of hate to miss any comments or pitches that you guys show me because I want to look into these things because clearly you guys have found it. So I want to inspect it and see what you got too. So again, like I said many, many times, man, this is a learning curve. We're all learning together. And then you can just make your own decisions and then come up with your own. We're not here to brainwash. We're not here to do any of that stuff. We're here to just pick it apart and see what we can come up with. What's the best logical answer, right? Or Occam's razor. The Logan 5858. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. No problem. The Logan, good to see you in there, man. Zappa 750, what's going on? Didn't even see you in there either. Man, you guys are like sneaking in left and right here. Do you follow Electric Universe, Chris? No, I don't. I sure don't. I'm not even familiar with it. You talking about the theory or the actual channel? Ian Thomas, you said swamp gas is generated how? Via biological processes equals life. Yes. Yep. Even if they call it swamp gas, they're wrong, right? We see through you, NASA. Um, I actually had one of the guys actually ask me that. He swore, he goes, I think he asked me something about either what I did for a living or something like that. And they said, well, I answered them, and I guess they were surprised that I answered. They said, "Oh, I got to be truthful, man. I thought you worked for NASA." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'm working for NASA, and I'm going to just rat them out." Like, nope. To be truthful, I wouldn't mind doing it. Can you imagine them asking me, "Hey, Chris, we've seen your your videos, and you kind of see through our crap. Is there any way you could proofread our videos or our photos rather? And could you make sure that this stuff doesn't get out?" And you know, that would be a tough one, man. It's like, do I really want to do that? Frank, you said if it farts, it's alive. Methane is the key. Well, true. Oh, let's see. Andrew Haberman, you put on the ETs from other solar systems likely use quantum communications where there is no transmission at all, utilizing quantum particle entanglement. It's funny you said that, Andrew, because they also believe, like I said, you're about that. Those two people that were one guy actually worked for NASA, and they found that NASA's probably already have been using like a quantum communications because they were trying to figure out how the rover sitting on Mars, as soon as Earthrise comes up, it's already sending information within seconds as opposed to 20 minutes, which has been known to be like that around that time, a little less, a little more, depending on the distance of Mars when it gets transmitted. Um, but they're saying it's coming in within seconds, absolute seconds. So it makes you wonder, okay, are they using the same thing? And this is the reason why they may be getting full blown HD video from Mars. Think about that a minute. And they're seeing the whole thing they need to see, crystal clarity, whether it's photos, video, sound, the whole nine. I think it's absolutely could very well be. Paul Salerno, you said, have you seen any of the astronomy channels that show stream video of lunar structures? And do you think there's a possibility that the black budget lunar mining infrastructures exist? Oh, I believe they exist. Is as far as I think they're on the moon. I think they've been. I think they have bases on there. No way to vet it. No way. It's just pure speculation. But and I've said this before. If they can do the moon missions, and they had what 17 of these or something like that. I forget what it was. Um, Total, whatever it was, doesn't really matter because from the very first one to the last one, 17. At least that's what we think it is. Told to the public it's 17. They think there's been 18 to 20. But if we know we can do that right up to 18, then and why would they stop? Especially if there's something on there that they want, why would they stop there? So there's clearly some black ops or infrastructure, like you're saying, or like you're saying a mining infrastructure, but I think there's a base there, and they may be mining like a helium-3 or whatever it may be, right? Pure speculation, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. We don't know. I'm sure they had the technology, and they knew they could go to the moon back then. Pretty easy. Other than I think was it Apollo 8 guys? You guys can correct me if I was wrong. They had a fire on board the capsule at that time. And it was I think, I don't know if there was a mishap on that one or whatever, but I know they had a fire on one of them. And but I believe they kept going. If there's something on there, clearly, like I said in my last lunar video I did about the moon, you can see that they're hiding things and they're making them look like hills and mountains, just like they're doing on Mars. And you can see the shit is there. It's on the surface. They got equipment up there for a reason, and it's not just soil samples or rock samples. I promise you that. At least judging by the photos, I'm promising you that, right? Let me see. Somebody just told me I moved one here. Missed one rather. Can't find it now. Greg, I didn't see the other one there. McLaughlin, you said check out the follow-up comment. Martin Ederveen, you said ESA writes 2016. You put in 2016. About half of the missions dispatched to Mars have failed. Many were lost on the way. Missed their target or crashed on arrival. True, that has happened. Now you can Google that. You can put missions that have been to Mars or space missions to planets, and you can see quite a few of them have failed, especially the Soviet Union when they tried to go to Mars back in, believe it or not, the 50s. These guys were out a long time ago. So they're rockets, they know they can make them. And what's funny about it, they had the technology for guidance systems back in the 50s. And if they started in the 50s, they were working this shit on the 40s until they got up with them. It's like our rovers. Now, our first rover was a Sojourner back in 1997. Okay. Took us a while there to make something much larger with better equipment. We had like in 2004, we had the Spirit and Opportunity rovers. One got there, I think, a month or two before the other. I'm not sure which one it was that got there first, Spirit or Opportunity, but doesn't really matter. And then, of course, in 2012, we had the rover Curiosity. So it takes them years to get these things put together. Well, here you go, 2012, now 2020 to put out the 2020 rover, which is, again, I think is going up in April 12th, I think. Um, so, this is what I'm saying, guys. So when you think about this, you go, okay, so it takes time to do this. So if you came out with something in the 50s, clearly you were working on it long before then. They had the technology. So what do they got now? That's what you got to ask yourself. Tom, you said since radio first it's been 70 some light years, not very far. Or that we know of. I mean, but put it this way. It's like when you have, like, I don't know if you how many of you guys have like an outside TV antenna. Uh, but if you have a TV antenna outside, this is what's funny. You can receive your local channels. However, what if you have a much better receiving antenna? So, what happens if they have a much more sensitive receiver where they're at? Could they pick it up faster or sooner before it got to them? Think about that. It could be a very, very weak signal, but they can pick it up. So, we don't know. And how do we know we're not sending out signals, through quantum communications? How do we know? I think they're actually using laser right now from Mars to here. I can't vet that, but I can almost bet on it. If they're getting a signal that quick from that rover, the second Earth rise, and it already knows that, and it starts sending information within seconds, not minutes, not 20 minutes, but seconds, and they're already getting it. So even if they were doing a live video, feed from them, it's only like a couple of seconds lag if it's quantum communications, that is, right? Yeah. Let me jump all the way down to the bottom here. So, guys, if I missed any of yours, just write it again if you don't mind. Pete Ferrero says, Nazi had the Mars rocket on the drawing board in the 1930s. Well, that's what I'm saying. So they already had dreamt this stuff up, and they say if you can dream it, chances are you can make it. And yeah, absolutely. So they were working on this stuff a long, long time ago, and they're just like, want to get up to the stars, want to get up to the stars. So they've been sending rockets. So they know they can send a rocket from here to another planet. What do we need to do to get people there as well on these rockets? Well, we need some kind of life support. I don't think that's all that difficult. Even if the actual rocket is not, sealed enough to keep the oxygen in, we'll just wear suits and then just have it hooked into tanks and everything else. And obviously, regulators make sure the right gases are in there so we can breathe and everything. It's kind of like going diving, right? So you have to have a certain balance. And of course, they just get there and come back. But it's much more advanced than that. So who's to say they haven't been doing this for years, man? Haven't been on, because people speculate that we've been on Mars since the 70s and 80s. I can't prove that. I don't know that. But that doesn't mean they don't. I don't know. Oh, Reggie, I haven't even seen any of your comments, to be truthful, because this thing, if I try to go down, sometimes it jumps way down the page. That's why I said if anybody's left a comment, just leave it again so I can catch it. Because you said something about you can try to avoid what I'm saying, but you're going to find out every word that I've said is true. I've been tuned in on this spaceship since my father left, and let me know, Elijah Muhammad, watch and see. I'm not even sure what you were saying earlier. So, like I said, if I did miss it, just go ahead and drop it again. Oh, okay. Reggie, you said, Chris, the world is in terrible danger right now. We are under God's judgment, and for those spaceships, those are Ezekiel's. Well, those are the chariots of fire. You've been blessed to tune in on them. Well, here's the thing, too. Yeah, you're right about when you read on Ezekiel's how they talk about. I'm trying to remember if it was Ezekiel or I'm going to draw a blank on this, but they were taken aboard the spacecraft, and they looked down on the firmament. He learned all of the people on board, all their names and what their professions were, whether it was agriculture, language, mathematics, so on and so forth. Learned it all, and then came back. What was it, like 300 years later or something like that, and then brought back down. Um, Talked about the wheel in a wheel on these spacecraft and all this other stuff. So really interesting read if you get to read that stuff. That reminds me. Let's see if I can't find this other. Let me see here. I just screwed that up here for a second. Let me just try to find this. There was a movie I watched, and you guys need to watch this. This is cool. See if I can find it. See if I didn't. Let me see if I can find this bloody thing. No, that's not it. There's a video I watched on here. Really, really interesting. That was another one that was interesting. Have we found life on Pluto? NASA's unexplained files. That was pretty interesting. Oh, if you guys get a chance, I'm going to hurry up and try to mute this because I don't need a copyright strike. The movie The Beyond. You got to watch this. It's about an hour and 31 minutes. Really good watch. What was really funny is that there was like 5.8 thousand, so almost 6,000 likes and 1.4, almost 1,500, dislikes. But when you read it, people are like, "Oh, this is awesome! This, that, and the other." So I don't know where the negatives were coming from, but if you watch this is a really good video, and I'm going to drop the link here so you guys can check it out when you get a chance, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Then, because somebody just said something about if you can go into some kind of like you can use some kind of skin to go to these other planets, like a cyborg or some kind of what's the word I want to use, like a living suit, if you will. But that one there talks about other stuff. It's kind of like a mix of Avatar, Contact, the movie Contact. If you like those, watch that movie. Interesting. Haunted Craft says, hit that thumbs up button. Yes, please. Show everybody like, bam, this channel be a rockin'. Greg, you said Ben Rich said, and I quote, "We are 50 years ahead of anything you can imagine. We know that now have the technology to take ET home." And I've read about that too. You're right. And I'm not even surprised. Listen, 50 years I think is actually conservative. I really do believe that's conservative. I think it's more like 100, 75 to 100 at least. Again, how much? Just look at your phones, man. Look at your phones. Now, I remember, I think I even had one of these things back in the day. Remember the old Motorola's, the big, huge brick that you used and stuff like that? People would laugh at them now, but back in the day, those things were the bomb because they were 2 watts. And you could be out in the middle of China somewhere or in the middle of a hole in the middle of nowhere and still be able to transmit to a cell tower. But look what they come to now. I mean, you literally got the little watches in, it communicates, Bluetooth with your phone. And I mean, the technology is growing leaps and bounds. Now, picture the science community where all the smartest brains on the planet are, and they're all doing this. Think about that. Wow. You can imagine what these people have come up with. William Johnson. Well, like I said, I don't know if I jumped over yours because it seems like I've answered a couple of yours. I've had whole hangouts where I've asked the same question like 10 times. If I missed it, I'm sorry. Just go ahead and drop because it seemed to me I answered a couple of yours. Reggie, you asked Chris, why do you think they can't go back to the moon? They've got technology to go back, but they know that we have cities and factories up there and are ready to go to war with the government. Yeah, I mean, that's just crap. They said they can't go back, because a lot of people say, no, you don't understand. They lost the technology. Ha, ha, ha. So they never had it. No, the technology is obsolete and it's trash. And they would probably kill themselves trying to use it nowadays because the new technology they have today, look at the old crafts back then. Look what we get today. It's far better, safer for humans because you could bet, the layers of skins on these spacecraft are going to stop the radiation, so on and so forth. I mean, they're a lot better. And yeah, they don't want to go up there and admit to it what's really on the moon. Because like you said, now I don't believe a lot of these countries that are already, I wouldn't call them spacefaring because we're not really spacefaring. Well, we were back in the Apollo missions. And if we still are, then, meaning we're still going to the moon, which I kind of believe we are. But if all of these other well, I was going to say city because I seen you said cities on your comment, but all of these other space agencies are in fact working together. Again, that's the higher ups. That's more of the elite publics down here. If they're up there, then they're keeping it all amongst themselves. Then they won't really war with each other because they're working together for maybe their common cause. Who knows? Um, I just find it hard to believe that you know, these guys don't know what's going on. At least the elites. They all know what's going on. And you can bet your ass that they're all sharing this amongst themselves. Look at this. Look what we found. You know, who knows, right? Rockstar 8970 Abel. What's going on? You're right. Right. You said Armstrong told Linda Moulton how that when they landed, there were two giant. There was actually multiple because I forget which one it drew it, but there was it showed like five or six of them on that crater wall, and they were all looking down at them. Oh, absolutely. They know they were there. And in fact, they even said, I believe they're underneath us. And I don't recall which mission it was, but they actually said they were looking down and they said, oh, look at those lights down there. It says, must get real lonely down there. And one of the other astronauts said, yeah, I bet they never get out. Who the hell are they talking about? So that's weird. It's, yeah. Um, I was going to say, what the hell was I going to, Josh D, I just read yours. It says, Chris, I cannot watch that vid in Holland. It says, um, you can always use another server. I don't know if you've got a way you can jump on another server and look at this. If you got a VPN, you can look this up, VPNs, and some of them are free. And basically, you just jump on another server and you can actually watch it in another country. Really interesting if you want to watch that. Yeah, you guys are just being blocked out because it's here in the United States. But like I said, get a VPN. You can put exactly what server you want to be on, and you can put like right here in the United States, and you can watch it all day long. You can watch anything around the world. Well, like I said, Infinity Forever. I didn't even know you were in there either. The link from the film is not available in my country. Like I said, get yourself a VPN, and it basically, your internet provider, your IP won't know what you're watching, and it literally will take you. You can get a one that's here in the United States. You can work off that particular server, and you can literally watch anything here in the states. Oh, see, Doorboy UK was just saying the same thing. Yep. Linda Borum, what's going on? You said, "Good day, Chris. What's your opinion on what some channels are finding in Antarctica?" I think they're finding some interesting stuff. Um, my buddy Joe White from Art Alien TV, he was actually on Ancient Aliens, where he talked about what looked like a pyramid kind of thing in Antarctica, right? And I'm not surprised that they're finding this stuff long before it froze and got a sheet of ice on it and everything else. You can almost bet there was civilizations living there. There was actually humans living there. So now that it's all iced over, and now that it's now melting, a lot of it's melting. Now they're finding this stuff, going, "Oh my god!" That doesn't necessarily mean it's alien. It could be just simply structures that we've built. Um, but interesting to find some of the stuff that they're finding, and I think a lot of it's really interesting, and some of not so much, but a lot of it's actually really interesting. There you go, guys. In the other countries. Andrew said Proton VPN is a great free VPN. So there you go. Like I said, just check it out. A lot of these are free. Something you have to pay for. It's like I forget what it is, like $15, whatever. But if you can get it for the freebie and still be able to watch whatever you want, it's awesome. Watt, WAT, says NASA is civilian, USN and the US Air Force aren't. Well, it's true. Problem with it is that the DoD is actually pulling the strings for NASA. So this is the reason why they're only limited to what they can publish, basically, right? They're saying, listen, you can let this out, you can do this, you can do that. Now, I don't know if some of these guys in the CGI department, because supposedly there's many of them, right? So you can bet that some of these guys, I mean, they're probably doing their best to block this stuff out, and some of it still gets through, or they're just going, oh, just let this slip. You know what I mean? They're kind of like just letting them slide, like the little pieces, letting us, the public, see them, or they're doing it purposely, like we said many times, like a slow disclosure, kind of like this slow disclosure drip kind of thing going on. So, in the event that this really does happen, that the truth comes out, people won't be totally in shock, right? They'll be like, not just channels like mine, but a lot of other channels too. They'll say, "Oh, this is what, yeah, okay, well, damn, they knew it all along." But they're willing to overlook that after that because they're going to say, "We knew it all along," and that'll be the end of it. And then they're going to say, "Why did you lie?" And they can make up anything. They could just say, "Well, we just thought it was unfair of people not, be able to handle the truth, blah, 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 blah." So who knows, right? And they can easily worm their way out of it. I'm sure of it. And they'll come up with some spectacular reason. People are like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." Okay. All right. MC Gamer. Hey, Chris, if NASA said, look, we will give you $2 million to shut down your channel, would you do it? That's a tough one. I don't know, because I'd still be wanting to look at these photos and still, I don't know. Money sounds pretty good though. I don't know. That's a tough one because you're thinking, well, but is it really about the money though? It's because it's like, it's something that's a passion that you want to do to begin with. So you'd be kind of like, if it's kind of like if you, I don't know how many other things you guys watch. Like I watch everything from car racing to, uh, you know, uh, electric vehicle swaps from engine to EVs. Excuse me, this drink is killing me. Anything like cars or, like I said, hybrid cars, electric cars, I'm all down with that. Drag racing. So now all of a sudden, let's say you just watch it so much that all of a sudden then you walked away from it. You kind of like, you want to see more of it. It's kind of like we were doing here at this hangout. We're like, man, it's been 2 weeks. I'm thinking I got to get back into this, da, 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 da. I don't know. It's less like, it'd be tough to just walk away from it. That's for sure. 2 million sounds like a lot of money, but you go, okay. If you went out and bought a decent sized house, 4-bedroom, nice house, how much would it cost you? Depending on where you live, $500,000, $700,000. Not talking about a simple little raised ranch now. I'm talking about a nice house. 2 million doesn't, it sounds like a lot of money, but okay, so you're up to 1,000, 100,000, so before you know it, you're like, you blow that in no time, but it is good money. Be hard to give that up. Infinity Forever. Yeah, we were actually talking about this. You said, did you get the message about the new moon? We were just talking about this not too long ago. And I wasn't sure if it was the moon that we knew we had a second moon all this time. And somebody claimed it might have been the third moon. Like somebody said, one guy said that we had lost that moon and now we have another. So I don't know if it was a third moon that we had. I have to look that up more, to be truthful with you guys. It'd be interesting to see. William John, you said, sorry, Chris, but here goes. Do you think they'll tilt images to throw you off? Are you talking about literally tilting them, or somebody's had told me before about flipping them? And they said, well, if you flip it upside down, you'll see it. And I did it many times and I just don't see it at all. But if you're talking about just physically tilting them and making them kind of look, so it kind of throws off the eyes, sure, they'll do it. Why not? All day long. This is the reason why if I see a photo like that and I enhance it, I literally will put it straight so you can see it, face on, full on. But listen, it's not a tactic they won't try. If they're going to digitally hide something, it's literally a digital overlay, the original photos, but then there's spot blurring. Sometimes there's a lot of spot blurring. Digitization that's taking out certain objects, fake sand, rocks. I mean, you name it, they're doing it. So, I'm sure that's not out of the realm of them just pulling out a bag of goodies that they just throw at people and just see if they can't screw with your eyes, right? Hatchet, man, a good one. He said, man, I hope NASA has a better connection than Xfinity because my internet is about to piss me off. Well, I've got Infinity. And like I said, I never have a problem, and I got, like, my router's in the other room, but I got another separate router here. Got 2 computers. I got one I'm literally streaming out, and this one's receiving in. Like, I'm watching it like you guys watch, and I've no buffering whatsoever. Everything works fine. But it depends on where you're at, because even mine I had it back in the day. This was funny because, like I used to be into, satellite. I had a 10-foot C-band satellite and a satellite dish, and it wasn't being used at the time. So I took it apart, took the LNB, which is a low noise, block, what they call a low noise block, which is basically basically a feed horn. I changed it from the C-band to HU, um, into the C-band, and so I can get both bands in there. I had to readjust everything, the actuator, so I could move it back and forth. It was junk, and I was hitting like 23 satellites. So I was doing all of that, into that stuff big time. This is what you got to watch out for. I'm not sure how you got yours going in, but mine was being intermittent. I'd go to work and the thing would be buffering. Then some days it would work great. And then I thought about it. I said, man, come on, man. You should know better than this. It would do it every time it got rainy, humid, because you might have a leak in your coax. Well, so when I called up the company, I said, listen, man, I just checked my speed. It's like not even a meg. What's going on here? And they said, is that your download? I said, that's my download. That makes no damn sense. So they pinged it and found out there was something wrong. Well, they found out that the cable that was going from my house was a pretty long run. And what they found out, there was 5 splices in this that they put it together. So it's no wonder that every time there's moisture, speed would drop, because it's basically shorting the signal, right? So what they did was, the people next door to me, they weren't using theirs, so they just took their line off and put it on mine. I never had a problem with it after that. So, and the same thing would happen to satellite. All of a sudden, you start to see, the signal degradation, to the point where it's degrading so bad that you're not getting it. Something's wrong. So you got to replace coaxes and everything else. And if you're running fiber optic, then you really got an issue there, right? Yeah, Big Al, 311. Like I said, get yourself a VPN. They're free. You got a lot of free ones. Some you got to pay for, but get those. As soon as you get a VPN, you can run it right through your phone or your computer, and you can just pick any server you want. You pick a server that's in the United States, watch any video you want here, or around the world for that matter. Just pick a certain, um, server to work off of, and whether it's in another country, way out somewhere else, you can still do it, right? Oh, Justy, you said yes, I can, because I have several. LOL, but smartphone. Oh, okay, all right. Eagle One, yeah, great question. I mean, we've always questioned this, and I think it's still going to be the end, never ending question. He said, I wonder what they're really hiding from us. I don't think we can fathom it, to be truthful with you, because, like I said, again, we've seen the reaction to the Apollo 11 crew when they came back. Like I said, they're all, yeah, man, we can't wait. Wow, we're going to the moon. Da 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 da. And the way this is, I'm wondering too. I watched one of these videos. I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but the one of the videos I seen, it says having fun on the moon. Now it shows like different parts where they're like, "Oh, they're driving around a lunar buggy and they're kicking up rooster tails. There's all lunar soil flying in the air, and they're laughing and they're joking and they're having a great old time. How do we know? Because a lot of times it shows them, now when they're walking down that big rock, they're saying, wow, that thing's quite big, because as they were walking, they're getting smaller and smaller. That's how much of a distance they walked away and how big that rock was. Well, they're going, doo, 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 doo. They're like singing, but wait a minute. I saw another video before where they were talking, wasn't singing. So I'm wondering if the footage was real, but the audio was fake. Think about that a minute. So they're making it sound like they're having a grand old time, but when they came back, again, somber mood. They're all like this, and they're like, oh my God, oh my God. When they had that press conference, they didn't want to be there. Wait a minute. Again, you took the biggest step for mankind. You're giving thumbs up to the audience, was around the launch site. Everybody's happy. Wow, this is great. We're going to the moon, blah, blah, blah. When they come back, look like they lost their parents in a car wreck. Spare me. There's no way you would come back, especially the way the videos they show. They're supposedly having fun on the moon and they're joking and laughing, having a great old time. They come back. What happened since the time they were on there to the time they came back? So either that footage is fake as far as them having a great old time, and it was just to show the public, oh yeah, they're having a great time there. But what really went on, That's why a lot of people believe this is fake. A lot of videos that might have been for, like I said, for that purpose of like a PR move, where the real deal was, um, what they really found out it was structures, maybe spacecraft that crashed in there a long time ago, whatever it might have been. We don't know. So I don't. It's just hard to believe that these guys went out there with a positive attitude. Everything's great. Biggest step for mankind. Come back, boom, totally opposite direction from one end of the pendulum to the other. Come on. And these guys were trained. I mean, and most of these guys were not astronauts. I'm sorry, but they were Air Force pilots. These guys had their heads screwed on right when they went, and then all of a sudden they came back and wow, totally different. Patron, what's going on? He said, "Hi, Chris. What's going on, man? Good to see you in there." Exactly. Philosophy of Tool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were like playing golf on the moon. Again, I think these are part of the bullshit. I mean, I don't know if they were like showing those certain parts and then we don't know if that footage is actually fake. And then the real stuff was really going on behind the scenes where they were literally astronauts doing that. Because although we can hear the voice of these astronauts, how do we know those are the astronauts in them suits? And the real astronauts were literally on another feed somewhere, and they're showing this like in a studio. And these guys are off doing the real thing because why would they come back in that attitude and have that mindset that they were literally disgusted and like their mind was totally blown away that they couldn't? It's like they needed to talk to somebody and they couldn't. Think about that a minute. It makes no sense that they can leave and come back totally different. Alien Tenno says Armstrong lost his soul on that moon. Yeah, look at him, man. You just look at some of these guys that came. Of course, some of them are past now, but you look at some of these guys that were there. What the hell? And totally different people. Well, Infinity Forever. Yeah, you said you think they were threatened. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing: when they went up there, seen what they seen, probably crapped themselves, and they said, oh my God, we got to share this." No, no, you're not allowed to say anything to anybody. And you can bet that's what was said. You signed an agreement before you took off, before you started this mission. You will not say nothing, or we'll lock you up and throw away the jail, or you might fall off a cliff by accident. Who knows? Who knows what was said and how they go about this? I don't know. But they're not going to let them spill that kind of information. I don't think they would. Yeah, exactly. Alien Antenna. One small step for man, one giant cover up for NASA. Pretty much. Stephen Kasky, yeah, you're right. He said, makes you wonder what they encountered. Well, I mean, even if they didn't encounter any aliens per se, right? And it reminds me of a video I just watched not too long ago. And the guy literally says, "This is one of the astronauts." I guess they were showing the footage. I think it was that one. Let's see if I can find this because this was interesting. Oh, let me see if I can find the history here. Oh, it might have been something newer I watched. I showed you guys. I gave you the link from that movie, The Beyond. And now the guy literally says, he said, "We went to the moon, and of course, it's millions of years old." He says, "Could there have been somebody there? Who knows?" He said, "It is a possibility, but we didn't see any proof of it." That's wild. So for an astronaut to say that to begin with, that's wild. Let me see, where is this at? This might have been on my other channel with the other history on it instead of this one. Yeah, it might have been. Let me see what's today. No, that ain't it. Might be on my other one, my other feed here. I don't know. But yeah, he literally comes out and says that. He says, "Yeah, we've been up there and how long this stuff's been on the moon." He says, but who knows? Maybe there was somebody there before us. This is the way he says it. Somebody was it. That's a possibility, but we've seen no proof of that. Wait a minute. Why would you even say that to me, to anybody saying that at all? Think about how wild that sounds. Eagle One, you said, I think they saw more than they even expected to. Well, you could bet they were debriefed, right? They probably have, the LROC photos, meaning the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Camera. Um, they said, this is what you're going to see. Now, of course, they're showing it from a satellite view, maybe even a side view from from orbiting the moon, and so this is what you can see. But you're going to be right there. And by the way, these things are whatever how big they are, right? Um, these structures you're seeing or these crafts, this one's approximately 200 feet long. This one's approximately this. But when you go, then you stand there and see these things. That must be absolutely freaking mind blowing. And I don't know if you can contain yourself because you know it's not yours. And when you see it, you go, this is from something else. Someone else put this here. Oh my God. How many questions just pop off in your head? How long has this been here? Who left it here? How did it crash here? Did it just land here and they left it here? I mean, there's so many damn things that would go through your head. It's just wild. Doughboy UK says, I remember seeing books in the 80s with pics of the moon by the command module, really clear and blatant smudges in the middle of the pics. Yeah, hiding things. Nice big glossy um, A4 size books, percentage pic. Well, that's what I'm saying. And I've seen what you're talking about where you can literally see a good photo. And then you see like little blotches of blur. What the hell? You know, first of all, if the camera's going to take a blurry photo, it's going to be blurry, meaning from top to bottom, side to side, it's going to be blurry. It's going to be spot blurred unless you went and stuck your finger on the lens. And if it's a finger on a lens, then chance I'd be like the whole friggin' photo, right? Well, at least half of it, because a finger on a lens is going to be pretty big. Unless, of course, the lens is about the size of your head. Well, then, yeah, that could be. Coors, you said things I've seen through my telescope on the moon is pretty crazy. It's like it was in an old Earth. Oh yeah, absolutely. And when you start to see these things, I've showed photos and it totally blew me away. After I got through the centering, which is basically like a white overlay over the photos, you can bring out the darker pieces through it. And I've seen what looked like spacecraft inside, like on the walls of craters inside the walls. I've seen them like just decimated, like they look like they fell over on their side, just laying there. Um, Structures. I've seen all kinds of crazy shit in these photos. And you go, okay, I can understand seeing one thing. It's probably your imagination. When you see multiple things all laying together and around in a specific area, come on. You know, how can you pass off things like that are so blatant and there's multiple things right there sitting right in front of you? How do people just go, it's just rock? It's no big deal. I can't see it. I don't know how people do it. You're right about that, Malcolm Carr. You said they should leave a disclosure in their will. They can't jail them if they're not if they're going right. Absolutely, and that's what I would do as an astronaut. I'd make I'd say the whole thing what I've seen, everything about it, and I'd give it to somebody I know that would let it go public the second I was dead. Of course, they'd have to be anonymous or they're dead, but they can leak it out somehow. Put it out on the web, leak it out, and let it go. I'll tell you what, if I would, somebody's asked me this before. I know you guys have asked me. And you said, Chris, if somebody actually give you a video like that, would you show it? If it would blow the lid off the shit, absolutely. You know what I mean? Of course, I'd have to get my piece out and get ready because I don't know what's going to happen after that. Or I'd probably have to move away instantly before they find me. But it would be too overwhelming to keep to yourself. There's just no way you could do that. Alien Tenno, the moon is an artificial satellite. Well, and I think I actually agree with you because, and we've said this before, we've talked about this, where um, it could very well be the way it looks. I've seen where it looks like the ground is like parts of it's like open, and you can see what looks like almost like framework and pieces laying in the ground. It's almost like it's constructed, right? Now, whether the whole thing's construction, I'm not sure about that, but we don't know. Infinity Forever. Yeah, you surprised. And during the training, they were treated like royalty, and then they got back. and they realized that they were not free anymore. Pretty much. But again, if they were briefed and they said, "Listen, you're going to see things you're not supposed to see on this moon," I'm sure they were debriefed, but they just weren't ready. They might have seen photos and they said, "Wow, look at that! Wow, that's interesting. Can't wait to get there." But once they got there, again, I would be like super, oh man, I'd be like souped, like, oh, here we go. This is going to be awesome. Can't wait to get there. But once you're standing in front of these objects and looking up, the first thing I would think of is something's going to come out of one of these things and kill my ass off. We don't know. We have no idea. So you get there and you're just looking at these things in awe. Your mind, I don't think, can comprehend or wrap itself around the idea of that thing, even though you've seen pictures of it. And then once you get there, boom, blown away. Randy, AK Chowder Coats, Cortez. Mars had a civilization. What makes you think they didn't get to the moon? Absolutely. I absolutely believe they're going to the moon, but some people don't believe that. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people. Oh, we never went to the moon. Can't get by the Van Allen belts. Blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever. Read up on the Van Allen belts. You absolutely can go by them and go through them. They just, they're being fed this information through these flat Earth Society whack jobs, and clearly, so they're getting fed into this, going, yeah. So then I get them on my channel every now and then. Oh yeah, they can't get past the Van Allens and all this other BS, and just it goes on and on and on. And it's just like sad. It's like, stop. They absolutely can do it, and they have done it. Even though they'll claim, oh, they had like a recording of saying that the people from the ISS said, oh, yeah, we can't get past the belts. Absolutely can. I don't know where he's even come up with this, or it was a woman that said, I forget which one it was, but it's almost like they're trying to get the public's mindset to say, oh, yeah, this is a whole new mission. We're going to finally get to the moon. What are you talking about? Of course we went to the moon, but it's almost like they're trying to make it sound like they're like trying to reset people's memories or their mindset to say, wow, we're finally going to the moon. We're actually doing this now. But if people did a research, they'd see that we've been to other planets, and I'm not talking about people, of course, but whether it be failed missions or missions that actually made it to certain planets like Mercury and Mars and all these other places, we send landers and stuff. So clearly we can get a rocket, some kind of craft to there. Now we've got landers and we've got rovers and so on and so forth. So why couldn't you not get there? Come on. MC game, it always makes me laugh when Armstrong's sitting in front, and if that infamous press questions. Yeah, I mean, you've seen him, right? MC Gamer, the way they would ask questions, and they literally, I mean, you can literally. This is what I thought was funny. You can see them on an angle because they're like got them like this. The cameras look at them like this, and they're just like going. They got their head down and doing this. So they just didn't want to be there. Period. They just wanted to like, can you please get me out of this damn press conference? Last thing I want to do is answer questions, these retarded questions that think about how minuscule the questions were. Did you guys see stars way up there? And you've seen the way they reacted. They're literally, yeah, I don't know. Did you see stars? Why would you notice stars when you're standing in something in front of something? I'll get it out. I promise. That's like, it would keep you in awe. Why would you be looking at freaking stars when you know clearly they're out there? They're just thinking to themselves, okay, stars, we know they're there, but we can't see them if the lunar surface is highly reflective, especially you're in the sun. It's just like being here on Earth during the day. How many stars can you see? You can't until it becomes dusk or night. So the same thing would apply if they were on the dark side of the moon. Of course, you'd see freaking stars everywhere. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, these guys are like, they don't want to answer these goofy questions. They're like, oh my God, last thing I want to do is answer these idiots, because they're saying to themselves, I've seen something I can't wrap my mind, I can't comprehend. And they want us to sit in front of this goddamn, this stupid press conference. Makes no sense. Renee Vaughn, who's the word? You said, you're right, Chris. We landed on the moon and no flat Earth. Absolutely. Infinity Forever, you said, I don't think we are that important, though. No, they don't. We're just on that need to know basis kind of thing. You know that, right? So, but I believe we're much more important than that. And I think we have, if you have the thirst for knowledge and want to know this stuff, then I think you should, really, really attack this stuff. whether it be photos of the moon, Mars, whatever crap they're giving us, look beyond the manipulation and obfuscation, and you can see bits and pieces of this, you know? Infinity forever. Chris, you are so passionate about this. Well, I am because it's a thirst for knowledge. I want to know. Most people go, and I had a person ask me this one time. They said, let me see if I can remember how they said it. Who gives a shit about Mars? We can't do about anything about it anyway. Is it really about Mars, or is it about we being part of something much larger? I'm looking at the grand picture. I'm not looking at one little planet. I'm not looking at the moon. I'm looking at everything as a whole. Okay. And I'm looking at everything that we are much larger than anything that we can imagine. And the fact that these governments are keeping us from this, that's what pisses me off. That's what really ticks me off. And I'm sure you guys are frustrated because you guys have voiced your frustration, I don't know how many times, about why they just give us the truth. Couldn't agree with you guys more. Frustrated just like you are. That's why I enjoy looking at these photos, because I can at least pull it apart if they're not going to tell us. Alien Tenno, you said that Armstrong was a man that NASA destroyed. Shame on them. Yeah, it left him almost like, I don't know if I want to use the term brain dead, but it left him screwed up for life, right? Yeah, yeah. It's sad to think of what happened to these guys, to be truthful. They used them as pawns to get what they needed. And then they were like this. It's kind of like your military, right? These poor guys and women, men and women that come back, they were in a blast or something like that. And then all of a sudden the government, we don't know you anymore. Yeah, just get somebody in their place. And yeah, it's like, well, I need help, man. I need, my limbs are gone, and, I need prosthetics and whatever. We don't pay for that. I'm sorry. That's just not right. That's wrong on so many freaking levels. It's not even funny. Of course, I think a lot of people, you said, well, of course, you said, I think a lot of people don't believe we went to the moon is because they don't do it they can't do it. Can't do it themselves. Well, that's true. Just like, because when you say that, right, it's like you kind of wish you could do that too, right? But then you can imagine, you say, man, I'd love to be one of these guys. I'd love to have been one of those astronauts. I don't know. Would you have? Seeing that the stuff that you've seen and never be able to talk about it, that's got to be rough. And like I said, my brother, when he was in the Air Force for 11, 12 years, and they've actually asked him, do you want to work at Area 51? He totally turned it down. And my first question is, I said, are you insane? And this was back in the 80s. I said, are you insane? And he said to me, he says, well, I can't. So I said, what the hell are you talking about? You can't. He says, well, first of all, he said, they'll tell you, and you can look this up, they'll tell you that the highest divorce rate is the people at work there. There's a high divorce rate there. I said, what about it? He said, well, you're not allowed to talk about anything that goes on there. And so therefore they can't discuss it. I said, who gives a shit? I'd be like, you come home, your wife says, honey, how was your day? It was interesting. Oh, really? Well, one of the guys, we were busting up laughing and talking about this, that, and the other, but honey, I can't talk about my work, right? Oh, okay. And leave it at that. Now, unless you're seeing what the astronaut's seeing, that would be tough to keep it from your wife. But because they worked all kinds of crazy hours too. They'd be going for like hours on end. They can't discuss it. So a lot of times, they got divorced. I said, but you're not even married. Why the hell does it matter? I would have, before they finished that question, would you like to go work at Area? Yes. Well, we're going to say at the bottom of a shithole, but all right. Area 51. You know what I mean? I would have been all over it. I don't know. Frank, you said, can you imagine seeing a glass tower 3 miles high? Yeah, if those are real, I know Hoagland had mentioned that. Now, I don't know if those are real or not. I mean, he did show what photos that kind of looks like some kind of weird like outline of something. It might have been looked like kind of a glassy kind of. I'm not so sure those are real, but if they are, that's got to be freaky as hell. I can't even imagine. And they can easily build that because of the gravity that's on the moon is nil compared to Earth, right? So, but I did hear that some scientists actually looked into this, and it's much higher than, what is it, a 16th? It's much higher than that, than they're saying. They said it's 60% of what Earth is. Now, I don't know how true that is, but if that's true, that's insane, right? George Grohl, you said if NASA have technology we don't have, the country, you said, and the country is governed by the mafia. Well, they're being governed by our military. It's as simple as that. They pull the strings, they tell them what to do, and they go, okay, listen, we're going to let you keep in mind the military. If they're all got all the technology and they're letting these guys go into these, you need to find this for us. You're only allowed to do this. You need to doctor these photos up. We can't let the public see these, whatever reason they have, whether it's other countries finding out and not the public itself at all. It may not even be the public. It might be just the other countries, and they don't want them privy to what's going on. Who knows? MG Toe says, thumbs up, everyone. Hammer time. The guy Robbie said there's been some weird blooming. Oh, do you mean booming? I think you meant booming at nighttime in the state of Maine. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes it sounds like it's coming from underground. We have no railroads, but where I live, huh? I have to ask my buddy that he lives up in Maine. But yeah, there's a lot of places have been hearing this booming, and they're not sure. Listen, it could be spacecraft, experimental spacecraft, and you're getting that sonic boom. Who knows, right? Hard to tell. Of course, you said it's like our phones and computers. We can make them ourselves, but somehow, someone out there obviously can. Well, that's true. Yep. 20, 250 Saber, you said NASA lies to us. Oh, absolutely, in a big way. MC Game, he said, I say, honey, I work with shit. I was stopping junkies all day, bringing drugs into the court. Yeah, that'd be bad, wouldn't it? Yeah, but see, you could talk about that all day. As long as it's not a big deal. Eat fresh. Oh, um, Pat Chowan, you said underground rail systems. Yeah, I mean, well, they're also talking about a lot of fracking going on. So you can hear booming, you can hear whatever, whatever. Now, a lot of that is contribute to natural, right? But here's a good example of what I found, and you can find audio clips to this. I could play them, but I'd probably get I'd probably get a strike on this, a copyright strike. But the ones if you look them up, the Insight recordings of Mars, listen, it literally sounds like clanging and banging going on. And I said this in my video. I might have been a live stream. I said this, which like what I find interesting is they had the seismograph on the ground. Okay, had it on the ground, and they said, listen, and they had like a side by side. They said, here's a seismograph, and it shows like the arm moving on the Insight lander. Wait a minute. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're going to use the seismograph, listening to what's going on inside the ground. But you know what? Why don't we go ahead and move the arm on the lander at the same time? Why the frick would anybody do that? Or was it just a bunch of BS? And is something going on below that planet? Maybe they're living below the planet, like we've always talked about, and that there's actually normal stuff going on underneath that ground. How do we know? And it's just pure speculation. You guys know that. So all we could do is speculate here. And then there's one. It's funny you said that, Pashon. Where there was one. It sounded like it was coming from afar, and they said it was like an earthquake in here. It comes through, and then it just goes away. Almost sounds like a train traveling or something traveling from one end to the other. That was interesting. But it's all earthquakes and stuff like that. How do we know that? Well, of course, we don't know that. I mean, it could very well be the simple quake. Because like I said in that link I gave you guys, it was basically they recorded like 450 odd tiny tremors. Like I said, you wouldn't feel them here on Earth. But I get that, and it makes sense. But them to say that they said, oh, at this point, it's nothing. It's the actual arm moving on the lander. Why would you run two mechanisms at the same time? Here we got a seismograph trying to measure what's underground, and you're moving something on the same lander that's literally sitting feet from it. Does that make sense to anybody? No, it's a crock. And I think what's going on is there's something much more going on below that planet. Now, let's say for argument's sake, let's get all sci-fi in you guys. Let's just say it's something that's still functioning, but there's nothing living there. So in other words, it's like machines that just can run and run and run forever, right? But maybe everything's dead underground. Maybe humanoids or whatever, indigenous beings or whatever. How do we know? But again, pure speculation. But The way these things sound, you can literally hear ding, 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 bang, 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 and you can just hear these weird noises like, what the hell? Come on. It makes no damn sense. Oops. All right, let me get back to Josh D said, what bugs me about all of this is the idiot who do not think I am ready for disclosure and trying to penetrate my butt all the time, telling childish tales. Well, it's true, though. I mean, it's like, again, I get where they're coming from if you go back to the 40s, okay? There's no high tech, there's nothing else like that. To them, their tech was maybe a hybrid TV set. In other words, half solid state, half tubes. That was high tech by then. You know, when they come up with the first TV, they're like oohs and ahs. But what would they do if they seen something that was like a triangular craft back then? First of all, they barely had prop planes then. You know, if you go back to the 20s, everything had prop planes, 30s, whatever. You know, all prop planes. All of a sudden, something goes whizzing by, and it's some kind of UFO. And they did see them back in the day. They just weren't talked about that much. So, and of course, they probably think you're off your rocker then. Now it's like an everyday occurrence. Now, whether it's our crafts or theirs, doesn't matter. There's so much stuff in the sky now. If you've seen something, you go, oh wow, is that ours or something else? You wouldn't even be blown away by it. Maybe back then you probably would have freaked. Now, not so much. Now with all these sci-fi movies going on and everything else, of course, the way they actually show, you know, like I said, they portray these aliens like Independence Day. Oh, we're all doomed. They're going to get killed off. And come on. I don't believe that for a minute. Like I said, if they wanted to, if they've been around for millions of years longer than us, they could wipe us out with these. They would have done this when we didn't have any technology, right? Oh, look at these things of these little things on this planet of slowly, you know, evolving technologically. Let's go ahead and waste them now. They could have done this a long time ago. So I don't believe that they'd be hostile. Unless, of course, you went and been hostile to them, then that may be a whole different ballgame, right? The guy Robbie says, "Why is there so much information about the Greys and what would they want with the abductions? If this was all real, I would really like to know why the abductions for so long are they testing our genes." I mean, I've heard everything from doing this hybrid thing where they take some females and they take their eggs out of them and they have like an alien hybrid human thing going on. How true that is, I don't know. Now there was people who have been abducted, um, you know, that literally took polygraphs and passed them with flying colors. So is it true? I believe what they're saying is true. You know, whether they were abducted, whatever, you know, and then some of them just a bunch of BS. You can see just the way they talk. Some of these people, oh yeah, I was abducted, and you know this, that, and the other. And yeah, but I believe that's what they're doing. If they're going to do that, who knows? Maybe they don't. Maybe they're trying to get it, you know, like a hybrid or somewhat looking like us, so they could be on the planet. Now, some of these guys believe that they're already amongst us. They live amongst us. No proof of that, but that's what they believe. Is it true? I don't know. I can't vet it. I don't know. I don't know of anybody who is aliens. But then again, oh, Tom Wester, you put on there. What evidence is there that the shuttles are still operational? Well, I know you were replying to I forget who it was, but they said they haven't been mothballed. Now a lot of these, you know, crafts have been. You go to Kakistan, you can see there's in this giant hangar. I think there's one or two of these shuttles that are there, and of course, I think what country was it? You probably know Alien Tenno. The was it made in the other country where it was actually autonomous? They had their own shuttle that flew, and I forget what the name of it is. That they didn't even need manned space flight, and this was back in the 80s. They did their own, but see, we had our shuttles back in the day that could go. Well, that's what they did. They literally brought up supplies into inner atmosphere. We built the ISS, and then they were retired. But were they really though? If they can do that, why can't they just turn their views and go straight to the moon? Maybe they built them better where they can the engines would, instead of having the bay doors that would open up and they'd have satellites, sometimes they'd either um, they brought up the payloads to build the ISS, but they also would pluck like a satellite out of orbit and put it in there, and they'd fix it, or they put one out in space that way. But who's to say that they can't just use that whole area, most of it, like build more of it to be fuel, to handle more fuel, and just go straight to the moon? Who's to say they couldn't do that? If it can go out in space, surely it can go out in regular space, meaning outside our atmosphere. So why couldn't they? You know, go to the moon, hardly any gravity, at least according to them. So it wouldn't take nothing to land, come down, land like they do here on Earth, just come down, land, and coming back would be no big deal. You take off, it's easier to take off from the moon than it is Earth. Hardly any fuel, shut it off. You got your trajectory, you come right to the Earth, use your fuel to, slow your descent into the atmosphere and just come back into land. Why couldn't they use something like that? Now, even if they did, let's say they retired all of them, doesn't mean they didn't make a space shuttle 2.0. We don't know. If they're going to go to the moon and they've done it and they found crazy stuff, you can almost bet they keep doing it. The difference is, I've said, how do we know they don't have a version of the SR-71 and it's a space shuttle at the same time? So in other words, they can put stuff inside this thing, carry it right to the moon, and nobody can detect it taking off and going out into the atmosphere, going to the moon, because it can hide from radar. So how do we know? Pure speculation. I don't know. But I'm just saying, how do we know? It's not, it's completely feasible. Elohim, Duluth, you said a pay-per-view business of NASA showing the truth would submit the world to a perfection, getting exactly what they want. Mass opinion or zero opinion of the masses? Well, true. Randy A.K. Chowder Coates. They already know what's up there. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they didn't listen, guys. They didn't even have to go there to see what's on the moon, right? They had the LRO, and let's say they just used the best telescopes they had in the world. We're not talking about little rinky dink things here, because you wouldn't see them, any kind of structures on the moon from here. We're talking about the massive, whether it be at universities or observatories with these huge telescopes, and they can see the structure in there. That's what started them off. Wow, there's something up there. We need to go. Okay. The Soviet Union knew as well. That's the space race. It wasn't about just going into space. I did a space race with going to the moon to find it was up there. And although we went there, they did too, but they weren't with humans. They went up there with their Lunicod rovers. And of course, they failed. Some of them failed, but then they did get up there. And that thing traversed quite a bit of distance up there. So they got cameras, soil samples, and everything else just through their rover. They said, we're not going to send man. We're going to just send a rover up there. An 8-wheeled electric rover. Wonder what that sounds like. Only we have a 6-wheel rover here on Mars. Imagine that. But they had that even back in the 60s and so on and so forth. Come on. These guys ain't stupid, man. These guys knew exactly what's up there, and they said, get there. Same thing they're doing here at Mars. Let's see. Tom, I don't know if you're talking to me. You said they were used for decades. NASA moved on. So what is the evidence they are still operational? Stop speculating. Well, what's to stop them from doing it? And what I mean by that is, if they found something on Mars, or I shouldn't say Mars, I'm sorry, the moon, If they found something on the moon and they were there for more than just rocks and dust, why would they stop? In other words, if there's plenty of things to see up there and they need to get their hands on it, why would you think they'd stop? Now, and they might very well have. I'm just saying that why stop at Apollo 17? Because there was actually supposed leaks that there was an 18 up to a 20 Apollo mission. If that's true, again, if you let's put it this way, you're the space agency, okay? You go up there in 1969, okay? Apollo 11. Doesn't matter what missions actually, it doesn't matter because they went from like 69 to 72, I think it was. Whatever it was, doesn't matter. You go up there, you see what's up there, and you go up there and you collect samples, not of rocks or stones or dust, but you find what look like alien, intelligently made objects. Would you stop going to the moon? Because, like I said, you can gather some of this stuff, but wouldn't you want bigger pieces of it? What better way to do it is to send a spacecraft that could literally handle larger stuff. Because they all know they only had so much of a payload when they came back. They could only bring back like they had like this little tin briefcase type thing, and that's what they brought back. Supposedly, that's all they brought back. Was full of rocks. Was it all rocks? Because some people claim, and you can look this up yourself. Some people claim that those weren't rocks at all. There was a bunch of bullshit. One was like a petrified wood. Some of them was like stones you could find here on Earth. There was nothing. In other words, nothing special. So my question to you is, if you were the space agency and you found something on the moon, wouldn't you want more of that, which you can find in there, and wouldn't you want to take it back? So it is pure speculation, but you also have to think on both sides. In other words, could it be true? Could it not be? Why would you stop? I wouldn't. There's no way in hell I would. I would. I wouldn't do it. Doorboy UK says MC, uh, the new saws are amazing. They are. They're actually pretty cool. Like I said, I've got one that's on deck that I want to show you guys. It's only got a few things in it, but still, nonetheless, it's there, right? All right, let me see. This thing jumped on me here. Let me go. Cores, you said I've seen two plasma balls before. They definitely didn't look from this Earth. Yeah, you're not the first one to say that. I mean, I've heard other people say the same thing. I've never seen anything like it, but I know people have. Now, I've seen ball lightning. I've seen that, which is freaky as hell. But yeah, still pretty crazy. I've never seen anything like plasma balls, though, which is pretty much almost the same, right? Tom, you said shuttles are not meant for the moon. Where would they be launched? Well, the thing is, again, now we had to launch them on the 747. You know that, right? So, but they had to go up in certain elevation in order for these things to just separate and take off themselves. But that was because of fuel expenditure. Now, what if you had a lot larger fuel tank in that thing? So, in other words, you could still launch it the same way, let it take off, it goes out into the atmosphere, it goes right to the moon. It can literally land just like it does here on Earth if there's a base there. That's a huge if. Now, you'd say, how did it get there to begin with? Well, we don't know. Now, the other thing what I'm saying is that once it launched, it didn't have to have anything like a 747 to piggyback onto because the gravity's a lot lower on Earth. I mean, on the moon, right? So it would be nothing for that, shuttle to take off. Now, I'm not saying it's a shuttle exactly like we see now that's rotting away in Kakistan. I'm talking about something like a shuttle 2.0, something much more sophisticated, only in sort of that design, or the SR-71 design. I don't know if you're familiar with the SR-71, but that was built rather in the 50s. We didn't hear about that thing until 1995 or in the 90s. Look this shit up. So they do have secret spacecraft. Again, it was used for Earth, for spying and so on and so forth. And if they wanted to drop a bomb on an unsuspecting country. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't use something like that that was basically invisible to the radar, that they could take off anytime they wanted to and go out into space and, like I said, just come back. All they have to do is retrofit the engines like they would for a rocket going out into space. It's no different. So, um, I mean, it's like I said, if you're gonna, man will push the envelope every time. Back in the 80s, I don't know if you guys knew about this. I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys did if you're older like I am. They had the Blue Flame, which is basically a rocket on wheels, and it broke the sound barrier by 600 plus miles an hour. Okay, that was back in the 80s. Now, they're always going to try to push that envelope. Again, simple stuff like we got here on Earth, we have the electric car. Well, I've got an electric car that only goes 65 miles. Well, it's laughable by today's standards because now they're going 200, 300 plus miles, on a charge. But mine works perfectly for the area I work in. So I don't have a problem with it. But they're always breaking the envelope. So in other words, if they could do it back then in the 60s, and forget about the 60s, forget about the damn Apollo missions. Let's go back to, again, just launches going to other planets and moons. They were doing this in the 50s, so they can get this down pat as far as how to weather trajectories, just the trajectories alone, calculations, rocket, technology back in the day. That was back then. What do you think they got now? And the secret planes that we had, and what is the other one? What is that one we got now, guys? That mini shuttle that we have that supposedly was out in Earth orbit for 2 years doing top secret missions. And they said that NASA will not tell them what they did, what they're doing. But yet this thing was out, flying around in orbit for 2 years. And it was a mini space shuttle. So, I mean, anything's possible. I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying that anything is possible with the technology that we have. Pretty much, right? Hatcherman says, my thing about the Mars landings is if you think about it, if you were going to land a rover on Earth, the best place to land is, other than the ocean, is a desert. I think Mars is exactly like Earth. I think so too. Or it was. Well, again, we're piecing this together. Now, we can speculate on a lot of things as far as Mars, but they slipped up. They showed a blue sky. And like I said, even the people, again, this is how they were shocked about it. Like, oh, wow, the sky's blue. And you can literally hear these people saying this. And like I said, not 10 seconds later, boom, all red like they show us all the time. Okay. Again, all these gases they're finding on the planet, a water cycle on the planet, so on and so forth. It goes on and on and on. You can speculate that there's probably life on that planet, whether it's just simple organics. There's still life on that planet. They're not telling us that yet. Why? I think you meant to say on here, Tom, you said even the largest, I think you were trying to say telescope, Earth cannot see small structures like you're speculating. I'm not so sure about that. There are people that have their own telescopes, you can see, and I'm talking about the really good ones that have been doing this for years and years, that can get pretty darn close to um, I know a guy that's got a 10-inch telescope and finds phenomenal shit, but it's about the Barlows that they use, the cameras that they use. And these are simple telescopes that we use. Never mind anything that's like, if you go to the, oh God, what is it called? The Anjala Observatory down in Africa, where they're high up in elevation. And a lot of these guys are what do they call them? The amateur anyway, the amateur, astronomers kind of thing, right? They got everything from 14-inch to 32-inch to different size. Now picture something much larger. And these guys can see pretty darn close. Things that look weird that shouldn't be on the moon, picture something much larger. Of course they can see something pretty close. Depending on the size, of course. If it's something like the size of a car, you can forget about that. It's never going to happen. You're never going to see it. But if you're seeing structures, something very large, or some kind of weird something or other that's not lunar surface, you could probably see it with it if it's large enough. The rovers were landed in a bare area on Mars, and I think the Earth is a lot more like Mars than we think we know or know. Well, again, these guys knew where to land these things, right? If you're going to land anything, where would you land it? Well, where would be the best place to find life on any planet? Would be in the equatorial region. And just like you go to the equatorial region here, go to the Amazon jungles. I mean, stuff grows incredibly large. The jungles grow incredibly large. So that's where you're going to find most moisture. You're going to find the most heat. You're going to find the most everything, pretty much. So that's the reason why it's no secret why they landed there. They know exactly what they were looking for, and they knew exactly where to set these rovers down and these landers. There's a reason why. So they had plenty of flybys with the Viking flyby orbiters. Some I think one of them took off and just, like I said, it became a dead stick and it went out into space and never did orbit Mars. And then of course we had an orbiter and we had a lander, and the lander found, what they found was, they say they found life back then, microbial life or proof of life back then. Of course, you look this up, and a lot of scientists will argue, no, they didn't. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Yes, they did. They go back and forth with this. And these are scientists, not people like us. These are scientists. So they're not dumb. They knew exactly what they're doing when they did it. These guys don't just go, throw a dot at Mars map and just, we'll see where we're going to land. No, they did this for a reason. They'll send an orbiter there, and they'll check these things, and they'll say, that's where we need to land. And that's what they do. So they make preparations, they get the coordinates, send orbiters up there, they take photos. Again, the high-rise camera, which is on the MRO, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, is as big as any of us getting into a fetal position. You can literally fit in that camera. That's how big this thing is. And it can see down to a 4-foot swath of land. Okay, and crystal clear. Yet I've never seen one. But they claim it says unprecedented detail. Now, our military had it, and you guys know this, that the military had, you could be sitting there reading a book like this on your patio, and they can see what you're looking at. They can literally read it. That's how good the technology is nowadays. And that was even way back in the day. A lot of people are skeptical about that shit. Look it up. It's not stuff just pulling out our rear ends. It's there. Just got to look it up. Yeah, HSOS. Yeah, the HB series shuttle. Yeah, it's a miniaturized shuttle, and it was flying around, orbiting around Earth for 2 years. And like I said, they're very hush hush about what it is that they're using it for. They won't, if it's nothing, it's just whatever. Oh, we're just checking different parts of the atmosphere and da 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 da. Why would you need to hold that back from the public? Who gives a shit, right? But the fact that they won't say anything about it, that's what's kind of weird, right? The X-15, Pete. Yep, is a good example of launching from a plane. Exactly. Oh, that's pretty funny. AKA man, you said, Chris, have you seen the new pics of Mars from 2019? The 1.8 million pic. Yeah, I have. Now I don't know if that one there is the rock nest, the area, because that was a pretty darn big photo. Rock nest. If you guys look up that stuff, look at the small stuff in that photo, and it's loaded with it. Stuff that just does not look natural. Well, just rocks. We all know what rocks look like. But have a look at that thing, the rock nest photos. And I think they have a pan of that. And NASA has its own pan of it. And check that stuff out. William Johnson said, thanks, Chris, for the hangout. Look forward to the next video. Bye. Take care. Well, I appreciate you being there, William, and we'll see you again, right? Randy's taking off too. It's a great form. Keep up the good work. Night all. Good night, Randy. Have yourself a good one there, right? Have a good weekend. LS6SS, what's going on, man? When'd you get in there? What's up? Tom, you said I have an 11-inch Celestron with great cameras and have never seen structures. My friend has a 14-inch, nothing like structures. Well, it depends on what you got for a Barlow. It depends on what you got for a camera on it. It depends on your optics. It depends on a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying because I've got a much smaller one. It's like a 6-inch, right? So there's no way I'd see anything like that. Even with a good Barlow, it's not going to mean shit. But one thing I don't go by is I don't go by these regular uh, telescopes either. I would rather go by the LROC. Now, some people will say, well, hell, I got a telescope. I can't see it. No, but your damn telescope is not 75 miles off the lunar surface either. And you have the atmospheric, conditions to deal with from here on Earth. So this is the reason why I trust the LROC. Now, there's one guy out there has a 14-inch telescope talking about he's seeing right down to structures, square structures, and everything else, which is absolute BS. I don't buy that. Now, I'm not saying that you could not see a structure if it's large enough. I'm saying you might see something. Let's say you see a crater, plain as day. You can see those all day long, right? But let's say there's something just to the right of it that may be square. Would you believe that's just normal lunar surface, or would you believe that may be something anomalous, something you may want to check out further? I'm sure you would say yes. Now, I've seen plenty of photos from the LROC. Clearly, it's been manipulated, and there's absolutely what look like structures and some kind of crafts and stuff like that. Now, that's not the only photos. If you look at the Apollo mission photos from the capsule, and if you look at those, they're completely whitewashed for a reason. They say, well, no, it's just a reflection of the moon. And now I can guarantee you, and I know you will agree with this, Tom, look at some of the actual Apollo mission photos, okay? Then I want you to look at the photos you see through your telescope. Do they look anywhere alike? I can promise you're going to say no, because they're so whitewashed out because they were so much closer to the moon. They don't want you to see what's there. And yet you can look through your telescopes. I've done it with even my small one. I've got a 3 times Barlow, and I can see the moon. Of course, I can't see nearly to the surface because I just don't have a strong enough telescope. Don't have enough light to get into that thing. But you can literally, see the difference between what you would see through your telescope and what the Apollo mission photos look like coming from the cap. No way. Come on. Huge difference. And why would they sit there and wash these things out unless there's a reason for it? Frank, you said the X-37 is a recon camera in low Earth orbit. They speculated that there was like almost like a spy plane, right? And it was out there for 2 years, but they claimed it was something else, but they wouldn't get into it and they wouldn't tell the public exactly what this was, right? So yeah. Oops, it jumped on me. God damn it. Let me see. Craig Blackburn says, if you had the chance to go to Mars or the moon, would you go? Absolutely. As long as you know you can get back, right? And these astronauts did. Why not? Josh, he said it's after 2 a.m. LOL. I wait a bit and then go to bed. Hatcherman says the Mars quake to me sounded like something in the air moving at a high rate of speed, and the thunder sound at the end could have been a sound barrier being broken. That's a possibility. I mean, I don't know. From the sounds I heard, it sounded like it was something clanging and banging from under the ground. And of course, the seismograph that's what it's designed to do, right? So these things, if it's anything, it's underground. I mean, you can hear this thing, and it almost sounds like something's traveling from afar and coming straight under it, and then keep going. That's the way it sounds. That doesn't mean that's what it is. All I'm saying is that when I heard this, like you can hear ding, 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 and it was literally like rhythmic. It wasn't like bang, bang, bang. It was literally ding, 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 and then it was like this other thing. It sounded like something was banging on steel, and this thing was picking it up. Oh, it was the lander arm again. Why the hell would anybody do that when clearly the you wouldn't want it to interfere with the seismograph itself. So why would you run the arm on the lander? It simply defeats the purpose of the thing. It's counterproductive. Patron, you said government won't say much about anything. There's still secrets from World War One kept from the public. Absolutely. I got a buddy of mine who was in, the Vietnam War. He'll tell you some shit the public never knew about. And some of it's kind of like really something you don't want to hear about. Let's just put it that way. Crazy, crazy stuff. MC Gamer. I was gonna say gamer. Right? He said sunrise no problem, sundown cold as shit. Get underground. If you're talking about Mars, like one guy, like I said, that one guy had kind of had like this argument with. He's like, oh no, nobody could live on that planet. It's cold as hell. Okay, but it gets up on the average of 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit at the equatorial region, and it's been known to go higher than that. So you and I could live on that with no problem. And if you're closer to the ground and these gases are staying more to the ground, meaning oxygen, things a human being would have to breathe, then we'd be able to breathe there. However, I think at the very least, you'd probably need something, at least a breathing apparatus if you were there, right? Um, but if it's 70 degrees and you're within underneath these magnetic fields, so in other words, you're being protected by the solar radiation, you could literally walk around on Mars. They claim that you can't. I'm not so sure about that. Again, put all these puzzle pieces together, do the research, and you'll figure it out. There's a good possibility you could do that. Ab 0303, what's going on, man? You must have just jumped in there. Yeah, Frank, you're right about that. Nothing you see with a home telescope looks anything like what NASA shows. Almost like the moon is a projection. Yeah. Well, that's true. They have taken those out. Quantum discovery. You said you can tell if the Apollo pic are true by the antennas on the astronauts' life packs. Yeah, I mean, you get their backpacks and you can see like the antenna sticking out, and where they've drawn around these astronauts, some of them are taken right off. They're completely drawn right over. And my last video I put out yesterday, you can see parts of the equipment supposedly that they brought. Some of it's been literally, you can see it's been blurred right out. Like they took that part out, like it's something was near it. And people still have a hard time believing that, oh, why would they hide anything? No, these were straight up photos. You're full of it. Well, look this stuff up, man. I'm not, I'm just going by what I see. Um, it's absolutely true. And if people want to turn a blind eye, go for it. That's the way I look at it. Patron, you said, I've heard the government has been tunneling underground since the 50s. Don't know if it's true. Well, they do have a lot of these tunnels that span the United States. If you look at some of these videos, you can even put something like trucker drives miles underneath the surface. And there's a guy going, hey, where you going? Oh, I don't know. He says, I'm being sent to this area underground. He said, how long does it take to get there? He says, about 3 hours. 3 hours? And if you're only going such and such a speed, because it's not a raceway under there, it's not like a regular freeway. But if you're driving under there, let's say you're doing 50 miles an hour, 3 hours? How many miles is that underground? Yeah, there's tunnels everywhere. And I've been reading up a lot of that a long time ago, and there's tons of them. Some of them say they're just like the distribution centers for like these big companies, like food distribution companies. Why underground though? That's what warehouses are made for, aren't they? I mean, I don't know. Anybody else have a theory to that? Tom, you said Earth-based telescopes have limitations as the size of objects. Absolutely, no argument on the lunar surface. Even the largest professional telescopes have their limitations. LRO is best compared with other Apollo missions. That's a great point, and that's what I was trying to bring across to you. Now, why is it that I can look at an LRO pic and it looks fine? It's not over blurry. It's not well. They've screwed with those photos big time. This is the reason why I use those. But you're talking about a camera that was not taken by the astronauts. And yet you can look at one, it looks pretty darn good, man. The LRO pictures are like sharp. Like I said, just look at it real carefully. When you zoom in, you can see like different parts have been, manipulated somehow. And then you look at the ones in the Apollo. Why is everything so censored and literally just overlaid with garbage? There's no way. You can't have two extremes like that. There's something wrong there. And those cameras, the Hasselblads, were no joke. They're even top cameras you could buy today, the Hasselblads. Those cameras back in the day were cutting edge stuff. There's no way those pictures should have looked that shitty. I'm sorry, they just shouldn't. So, yeah, they have their limitations, and I totally agree with you. But they are going to be a lot better than something you could buy, something you have. I'm sure you'll agree on that as far as the largest telescopes. But you could bet to see a whole lot better than you can through your telescopes. Now, I see some fruitcakes out there that are doing videos saying, "Oh, I can see a structure. Look how plain it is. There's a bunch of them together." No. You cannot see them, and it's a bunch of crap. Because if you've seen it from, like from an aerial view, why are you seeing structures looking flat? It doesn't make any sense. So now I'm not saying that you cannot see good detail. Absolutely. I've seen some people, I've seen 10-inch telescopes. Like I said, real good cameras that got on the back of these things. And I'm talking phenomenal money they spend on this stuff. Good Barlows, good magnification, great clear night. And some of these guys live up on mountains. So they don't have to deal with a lot of the smog or any of that sort. So it's clear and get really good photos and close to this shit. And I've seen some things that look questionable on there. Now, can you see them clearly? No, there's no way. But I think a much more professional telescope in an observatory would see a whole lot better, and they got a lot better chance of seeing something that's artificially made, right? For those in the U.S., don't forget to spring forward. Oh, yeah, that's coming. Renee, you said, Renee Van, you said, I listen and imagine how it looks underground. The stations, Mars, people in it who spaceman. Well, I don't know if they'd have like these huge underground things. I don't know. But if they did go underground, because we have, let's be honest, we have underground things today. Like, like I said, they've got infrastructures underground where they travel. They got these fallout shelters. They got all kinds of crazy shit underground. Top secret stuff we don't even know about. Okay. And like I said, there's people who've worked for the government and can tell you some real crazy stuff. Now, some people think they're off the deep end. It's like, but there's a lot of people who are really credible. Even some of these astronauts would tell you, even before the death, they would talk about, there's no doubt that there was crafts on there. There's stuff inside these craters when we flew above. We could see lights in these craters, so on and so forth. It's just weird stuff. And you go, that can't be true. But these guys are credible. These guys were astronauts. These guys weren't some whack jobs. These were actual astronauts. Why would they come out and say this? David P. said, Chris, sure love the hoodie you got on. Yeah, it's pretty sweet, isn't it? Mars, Anomalies, and beyond. This thing is warm. I love this thing. And like I said, guys, I want to thank you guys for buying the merch, man. I do appreciate that. I know some of you guys have bought it, and nothing but a big thank you to you guys, Appreciate it. Quantum, you said, Quantum Discovery Network, you said, look at the water runoff in the hills of Mars. Yeah, they claim there's not a whole lot of water there, but yet when you look at those, there's plenty of photos where it shows like water running down. What a lot of people don't understand, well, it's just a little water, man. It's just a little moisture. Well, okay, but if you were to take a hill of sand, even a cup of this, just throw water down there, how much is being absorbed and how much is running down at the same time? That's what people have to understand. They showed like these great big mountains, and they said they were like 2 or 3 football fields in length. Okay, while this water's running down, I don't know how hard the soil is, but how much is being evaporated or sucked into the ground or being absorbed into the ground, and some of it's still running down. That's quite a bit of goddamn water, man. I mean, that's a lot of water, and they claim it's only a little bit. But that was back in the day. They claimed, remember before, they said there is no water on Mars except for permafrost, which was under the ground. And what they did was they said, well, when the Viking dug up the sand, there was permafrost. Within no time, it melted. Now, of course, as it got colder, it would refreeze. But if it did, if they dug it up and it melted, it probably just went into the ground. But because it was exposed to the sun, it melted and it wouldn't have froze. It probably just soaked into the ground, so it never refroze. But most of that goes on into the sand. But there's more than that. There's a water cycle. There was a photo that was on, I don't know if it was Curiosity rover or I'm trying to remember which one it was now. But anyway, it had frozen water droplets on the body of this thing. So there's moisture in the air and probably has raindrops, as we know, or like a frozen water coming down, and it froze right there on it. So there's moisture in the air. It's not just in the soil. There's a water cycle on Mars. Yeah, Doughboy UK says you asked, is the Chinese rover still going on the back of the moon? Haven't heard anything about it. According to them, it still is. It's still there, still rocking and rolling. Now, I don't know for how long, but that's what I heard the last time I checked. Frankie said, like I said, Mars has water, but it is deep. Well, you know, again, they found this big, I think they said it was like a mile wide of swath of water next to the South Pole. It was underground. And the only way the rover, not the rover, I'm thinking rovers now, right? The only way the orbiter could see it was to, now it took I think it was an X ray or radar image of that area. And they said the only way it could be spotted is if it's at least a foot deep. Well, it was enough to see it. So it was a little bit over a foot and they seen it. It's about a mile swath of underneath the ground. There's definitely a lot of water on this planet. There's no doubt. Actually, man, that's a pretty good one. Pretty spot on too. If a meth addict can survive smoking roach spray on chicken wire connected to a battery, that tells me that the human body is really resilient. I think we can adapt to Mars conditions. Well, like I said, scientists believe that we're actually more attuned to Mars. First of all, we're more attuned because I think it's 34 minutes longer than the average Earth day. The gravity is less, so therefore it wouldn't play havoc on your bones. They just say it's more attuned to actually Mars than it is here on Earth. Quantum Discovery Network, the trains on Mars got blown out of the tunnel structures. All their parts are similar to the systems found on the moon and throughout the universe. This is my hypothesis. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad. I mean, I don't know, like I said, what is going on underground on Mars. I'm not going to say it's like some kind of train or anything of that sort, but it had that sound of that, right? Something coming and then reaching that point and then going. So it's like it literally sounded like it was traveling. Now they claimed that it was the wind. Okay, well that could make sense. You know, gust of wind, it builds, it builds, it builds. It's on the outside of the seismograph, and that's what you're hearing. I don't know why, if it's a solid seismograph, I don't know why you would hear that on there unless, it's just something loose on the top of it. And of course, it's vibrating. And of course, it does this and vibrates that, and they can hear it. And the way it's dome shaped, you think it's made to diffuse the air. So you wouldn't think that would be the issue. I'm not saying it can't be. It could very well be. I'm just saying that you think they would design it for that, so that it wouldn't be that much of an effect on it from the wind. That they could be more trying to concentrate. It would be more concentrating on what's under the ground. So I don't know. Pachon, he said, Chris, do you think Dr. Ken Johnson moon photos were legit supposed to be the originals? That's the only ones I'll go by, truthfully. Now, his is supposed to be the second gen. Now, the first gen is what NASA has. Now his was tampered with, but not as much. Now, I would go by his before I went by NASA's because I've actually done a comparison of one area, one photo, and then another one, and clearly the one Ken has is a lot better than what NASA's showing. I think NASA went back and recensored these photos because they've gotten worse over the time. Now Ken, he's a friend of mine. I've met him down in oh shit, I'm gonna forget now. The Mars. We had like a Mars meeting down there. It was basically everybody showing their facts and what they found down there and everything else. And it was down in Alabama, and it was a Mars conference, is what they called it. And this was several years ago. And we all got together. It was Billy Carson, Thomas Mikey Jensen, I'm going to forget his last name. David Gannett, who does Mars X3D. There was several of us down there. Had a great time. Ken's good people, and I would trust his before I trust NASA's photos right now. There's just no way around it. Paulie Mac, yeah, you make a great point. You said if the atmosphere is so thin, like they say, wouldn't water evaporate immediately? Well, that's what they claimed before. They were claiming that the water, or I should say, the carbon ice on the poles, they claimed that it would sublimate. In other words, it would just wouldn't go to a liquid, go to a gas and be evaporated. Now, if you go by what NASA says, they said the atmosphere has been disappearing into the outer atmosphere, going out into space for millions of years. Why is there any oxygen, or why is there any atmosphere at all then? It should be completely arid of anything. There should be nothing there at all. And yet we're finding water cycles, all kinds of crap. But then they changed it, because I've been saying for the longest time, I said, no way, there's water ice there, because what's putting that water back? Now, they do claim, and it's true, that the pressure on Mars makes this carbon ice. And I would not argue with that. I would totally agree with that. What they also said, though, when I said, well, this is what I said, because you can look up the Hubble telescope photos of Mars, and you can see the poles actually shrink and they get bigger, shrink and get bigger. And they're not just red photos either. Look some of these up. But I said, so what's putting this back every single year? There's water ice there. I mean, there's regular water, H2O there, guarantee it. And not a year or two later, they came out and said, oh, by the way, there's actually water ice under the carbon ice, just like our caps here on Earth. So, again, just research this stuff. And you guys have been on this stuff too. So, big props to you guys as well. Again, I try to put the pieces together. Now, if it's a dead end, in other words, if I'm looking up something and it says, well, it's something totally, off what I was thinking, well, then it's a dead end. Oh, well, okay. I thought that would be true, but I guess not. And that's the way I look at it, but everything's been falling together where you put all these pieces together. It literally comes out as, the damn planet could actually have life on it. Now they're saying that it could very well be. Oh, where did it go? I'm trying to go back on it. It's funny because I try to move this thing down just a little bit, and all of a sudden it goes way up. Renee, you said, Chris, within probably 2 weeks, I buy a shirt and a sticker for my car. I want to support you. You are the coolest guy I know. I love your work. Thanks for the great videos. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And like I said, I thank everybody who supports the channel, whether it's, monetary or buying stuff, it's just a way to support the channel. And, like I said, I think it's awesome because, like I said, yeah, sporting the shirts. And like I said, I got a V-neck too. It's black. I like black because it's, to me, it's just classy. But there's all kinds of colors you can get from this stuff. So, like I said, a big thanks to you guys for supporting it. And like I said, the cool thing about it is it gives you something to wear in the boot to boot. So it's a win-win for everybody. Oh, Josh, you're right about that. You were actually talking to Alien Tenno, but you said I know the vibration worked as sound engineer. That is why I said sound means atmosphere. Well, the argument with that would be is like, well, if you're listening from afar, you'd have to have air and an atmosphere in order to get that sound to your ear. But if it's a vibration on something, then you'll not so much hear it, but you'll the vibrations will be picked up, right? So I think that's what they're trying to say. Oh, yeah, it's not. But if you got wind, now they claim like a 300-mile-an-hour wind is really, according to the air that's there, would only be about 60 miles an hour. So it's not really 300 miles. They're saying it's 300 miles an hour, but because of the lack of atmosphere, it's actually like something you could walk around in. Now they claim the highest one was like 60 or whatever, but they also claim there's been 300-mile-an-hour winds, which I find interesting because they claim that the opportunity was whacked with one of those and it never did, rebound from it because it got dust on the actual solar panels. And of course, it didn't have enough to charge itself, so it wouldn't be able to be restarted. So it failed because of that. But yet you had the lander there, the Curiosity rover. None of these got whacked with these storms. And if they were, no one enough to knock them out. Now, of course, the Curiosity rover is different. It does not have solar panels. It's, nuclear driven. So it's a radioactive isotope that's powering this rover. So there is no solar panels on it. But wouldn't it get into something else? Wouldn't it somehow eventually stall it? Wouldn't it the wind-blown sand literally start ripping apart these wire harnesses and these flat harnesses? You can see some of them, they're like literally flat. And some of these harnesses, wouldn't it like beat these wires to death eventually? I mean, this thing's been there since 2012. We're talking 8 years ago. So, at some point, wouldn't it do that? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, hey, John Devon, what's going on? I made it. What did I miss? Oh, where do we start? Mary, you said McGillivray? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it. I apologize if I'm butchering your last name. Have you ever heard of Derek Tyler? No, I don't think I have. Well, they at least said that there's water on the moon as well. They said there's actually a thin atmosphere on the moon, Frank. So you're right. There's an atmosphere on the moon too. Another live from our space agency. There's moisture on. You can see when them guys fell down, they literally had this soil on them, and it was kind of like a muddy kind of thing. So there's actually water. And now they're saying there's a lot more water than they thought. There's a lot of inside the craters. They're finding ice and everything else, and pretty thick at that. And they're starting to find an abundance of water on the moon. At one point, they never said anything about water, right? AKA, man, you put on there, will you do a video on the moons? I'm sorry, on the photos rather from 2019. Make your own pan and put into Photoshop. Well, there's one, it goes way back. There's a lot of them. You can go back to like Sol 173 early on in the Curiosity photos that they're not as doctored as you see now. Just go look at those in like 170 and below when it first started off to the photos you see now. Look at the difference in photos. It's really weird. And I think the reason why they did that is because they're closer now to the stuff they really wanted to get close to. And now they're really going to town and manipulation and photo editing and stuff like that and whatever they need to do to these photos, because you can see a huge difference between what you see there and what you see now. Go look it up. It's crazy. Justy, you said I had two. I'm not sure what that is. Bastion's sound and photograph studied both for over 4. Okay, cool. So I know a little bit about it. But yeah, I mean, so you know what I'm saying. It's like, but yet, according to them, the atmosphere is so thin, you really shouldn't hear sound either. But yet, it's almost, and there was one video that almost sounded like thunder because you can literally hear it. You know, they claimed it was the wind, but if you listen to it carefully, it almost sounds like you know, you hear like thunder, like just starting and it gets heavier and heavier, and then it just goes back off. Like you can hear the sound die off from it. It sounds a lot like that too. So, you know, they could, you know, is it wind or thunder? Because to me, thunder would really make that, you know, I'm going to think of it in a second. I'm drawing a blank here. That the seismograph really go crazy, right? Think about it. Wind, thunder, whole different ball game. It's got to rattle that ground and vibrate that ground, and so that's why they're saying it's wind. I'm leaning towards more thunder. And if you heard the recording, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Linda Borum, you said, I love a print. I'd love a print of the corrected Mars shot you've done, the one from space. Now, I don't know if you're talking about Linda. You're talking about the one that the India's mom satellite took, and I just went in there and just corrected it, and it was absolutely looked just like all the colors you see here on Earth. Pretty crazy. Let me see here. Oops. Let me see. Roy, you said, Roy Searles, do you have a website or something to buy your merchandise? I do. If anybody else is interested, I'm going to drop it right here. Just more than one of you guys have asked this already. So there's the link to it right there. Different things you can buy, hoodies, t-shirts, you name it, it's up. You know, it's there. So check it out. John Devon, you said I was watching a travel show about the Mediterranean, and there were people living on the side of the volcano. Although the volcano was surrounded by ocean, it reminded me of Mars structures on the side. That wouldn't surprise me. Well, again, like I said, I think these guys either built into these so-called buttes, and it would make sense in a way because think of it. Like I said, there's a lot of ancient people who've like built into the ground, and we're still doing it. There's a lot of people in Australia that built their houses underground. And anybody here's from Australia knows what I'm talking about. They literally have built into the ground, built their own houses. It's perfect. If you're underground, there's no tornadoes that can touch you. Uh, you got a temperature, like a constant temperature, doesn't matter. It's warm, cold out. You've got, if you build it inside of a hill or a mountain, what's going to bother you there other than a rock slide? But other than that, you know, wind, doesn't matter how strong it gets, it's not going to wipe the mountain away. So you're pretty much safe from any radiation if you're not living underneath one of those protective, magnetic fields. So yeah. MC Gaming said, I listened to the audio of Maz. I think we are getting the shit and the shit instead of the real deal. Well, I mean, it could be interpreted any other way. I mean, in different ways, because like I said, the one that sounds like wind, it literally sounds like thunder. And thunder would affect that seismograph more than wind would, I would think. And it doesn't sound like it's being pelted by like sand, like you would expect it, right? Like a lot of wind and pelting the side of that thing. You don't hear that. What you hear is, um, you just hear almost sounds like a thunder here, and then it comes on, and then it dies off. It almost sounds like something you'd hear from thunder, and that would affect a seismograph more than wind would, I would think. I'm wearing the premium, Frank. I think it's Miklos. Yeah, I'm wearing the premium one. This is, and like I said, this thing, you would think, when I got it, I thought, I'm saying to myself, wow, this is gonna be nice. Thinking it's gonna be super, super thick. It's not. It's actually it's thinner than I expected, but it's the material that it's made of. It's warmer than hell. Love it. But for anybody who's like thinking, well, it's gonna become spring sometime. Well, there's all kinds of things where to buy it up there. There's everything from tees to long sleeves to friggin' phone covers to you name it. It's pretty much there, right? You're welcome there, Roy. That's a random question. That's a good one. And talk Chuck Chris. You said, Chris, if you could take any female movie star to the moon, who would it be? What? Um, Gee, I don't know. That's a tough one. Hmm. Who would that be? I don't know. There's a range of them. There was, um, oh my God. I don't know. It's a great question. Who would you guys take? Because that could mean a ton of them, really. Craig Blackburn, you said, do you think Elon Musk is legit in our NASA like 50 years ahead of his technology? Probably, yeah. I would think they're definitely ahead of him. But now he's probably, because he's in this inner circle, so to speak, he's probably privy to all of that now. So in a sense, he could probably incorporate some of that into his own technology, of course, very slowly, so it doesn't give anything away. Which is a good thing. That's why I like everything about NASA, as far as like, because we get technologies from them because they build certain things, and it gets watered down to stuff we use in everyday stuff like microwave ovens, so on and so forth, right? So I think it's awesome that they do that. And if you can do that and incorporate it into technology as far as, either space flight, cars, whatever it may be, great, right? That's a good choice. Jessica Biel. Oh, yeah, that works. Oh, yeah. Beyonce. Quantum Discovery Network. You take yourself? Sweet. The entire Swedish track team. That's good. I like that one. Jennifer Lopez. There you go. Natalie Portman. Oh, yeah. Nice. Frank, I should have said, of course you want the premium one. Yeah, Alien Tenor, she was back in the day. She still looks okay for considering, right? But if you could just like rewind time and then do that now, right? That'd be all right. MC came of, oh, my son, he's only 7. And are you still watching Chris? Hilarious. Nice. Well, we'll be ending it soon. We don't want anybody getting in trouble. No moms or dads getting in trouble here. Quantum Discovery Network. What car would you take to the moon? I'd definitely take a Tesla. Something like that, only like in a four-wheel drive kind of rig. In fact, he even mentioned about bringing something like that, making something like that for the moon. Um, you got to understand, even if they're lying totally about the gravity, whether they are or not is immaterial. Um, because you can bring something really heavy there and it'd be a lot lighter on the moon, just like it'd be lighter. on Mars because Mars is like 38% of the gravity that Earth is. So, if you weighed 100 pounds, you'd probably be right around 38 pounds. So, yeah, roughly. So, but yeah, something cool like that would be all right. They think that lunar buggy can throw rooster tails in the air. Huh, please. Mary, you said I love the way you get rid of the red color that looks so fake on the Mars pics. Well, the funny thing about it um, is that a lot of times you can just do this auto color right there in Photoshop because it sees through what the photo should actually be. Now, somebody asked me, well, how do you know that's not like the algorithm's not pre-programmed to actually just show what the Earth color is? I don't know that. I don't know whether it is or not. But still, it still sees it as blue, and all the rocks seem to be corrected too, if you think about it. So it's like it looks more Earth-like, like we'd see here on Earth. So it almost tells you that is actually the actual color. So yeah, quantum might take a you take a razor, really? Um, I've actually got one. The what is it called? The Razor One or something like that. It's not very fast. It's only like 16 miles an hour, but I wouldn't want to hit a car doing 16 miles an hour. But yeah, they're pretty good. I like it. I don't know if I'd use that though, because you probably get bogged down in the soil. What do you think? American Rebel, what's going on, man? I think I seen you earlier, so my apologies not saying that. I was wrapped up in giving answers here. Um, Good to see you in there. No, Lucky, I don't have one on there right now. It's weird that the way they got this thing set up. It's kind of like you said. I don't see the hat you're in your merch. I want a cap. Will there be any hats available soon? Yeah, I'm going to try to do that too. It's weird how they do this. It's like you put it on there and then they'll put the photo on anything you want, except for when you go, oh, I'll think I'll do the hat thing. And then it says, well, you got to put in a separate URL. I'm saying, what the hell's all that about? So I don't know if it's like new to the site and that they're trying to get you to somehow do it different. I'm not sure what the hell the deal is with that, but um, yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to do that and get the thing on there. I like the idea of shirts because a lot of times I don't like to wear hats. I mean, I wear them most of the time. I wear a hat, at work, and then I'll wear them here. I don't have to. It's not like but I just like wearing hats. You know. Oops. I mean, I would take a lot of. I think pronounce it Lotta. I think it is. Man, them cars can take any shit. Yeah, I remember seeing videos about those things. They're small, kind of older cars, but man, this things can take a beating, right? Doc Truck, so which fast food restaurant would you demand built on the moon? I don't know. There's a range of them. I mean, I don't know. Maybe down with a good Taco Bell. What do you guys think? Um, I don't know. There's a couple of them, I guess. I guess you'd have an assortment. This way you can have something different every day, right? Dutch John, 1952, you said, do you think the moon is a hollow object, Chris? I don't know if it's completely hollow. I think there's cavernous areas because they claim that there was lava flows and lava tubes under the ground on the moon at one time. Now, some of these things, they claim that you could build these things like a city underground. They're so darn large. And I believe it's the same thing here on Earth where there's large caverns. You could build like a small town or city, right? So, yeah, I strongly believe that could happen. Or it could very well be, right? Grand Macro Space Ladders. There you go. Yep, Frank, appreciate you being here. We're going to jump out of here too, guys. You said great talking with you, Chris, and everyone. Going to get some dinner. Catch you next week. I appreciate all of you guys being here, and I'm going to try not to hit the mic and break it. That'd be awesome. Again, thanks for all the support, whether it be monetary, the support and buying the merch. I do appreciate you guys. Voice is just starting to go crazy on me. So thankfully, and the reason why I went this long here, guys, is because we haven't had one in the last 2 weeks. You guys have been great. All kinds of questions, having a good time here. Again, you guys are awesome. I can never ask for a better hangout. You guys are the bomb. Even we got some people that are skeptics here. I'm open to all the people that are skeptics because, again, it's a learning curve. You know, we don't know it all. We try to. And that's why we have these hangouts, because this is what's awesome about it. You guys are the bomb. The man of many hats. There you go, Noodles. Well, no, just about 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I couldn't ask for a better hangout. You guys are awesome. Great bunch of people. I was happy to be able to do this today. Said the voice is good. We're gonna rock this shit tonight. And this is the reason why I went a little longer, because it took a lot of you guys probably going, he won't be on tonight. Oh, hell, he is. No, so everybody kind of jumped in there. I didn't want to have it this long, but I thought it was great that we could do it anyway. So you guys are awesome. Again, thanks for all the support. Couldn't do it without you guys. And it just shows me that you're on board with a lot of the stuff we're talking about on this channel. And that just means a lot to me. And like I said, you guys, you guys are great. So I'm going to let you guys go. Everybody have a good and safe weekend. I'm going to be busy this weekend. Going to work tomorrow and all that other good stuff, and be busy Sunday. So yeah, it's the only day off I got for the week. So it kind of sucks, but nonetheless, you got to do what you got to do, right? So I'm going to get out of here. Everybody have themselves a great weekend. You guys are awesome. Much love to every one of you guys. And big thank you to all you guys as well. Anyway, like I said, have yourself a good weekend. And we'll see you guys in the next video there, right? Peace, guys.